Okay, so if I remember this correctly, I was gonna talk... Yeah, I was gonna talk to Mr. Garrett about the dude, Olive's boyfriend, right? Oh god. Alright, jumping right into this. Gotta figure out what voice I gave this dude again. Oh, I already talked to him. Yeah, the death was the gas leak, whatever, blah blah blah. I already did talk to him. Wait, where was I going? Did I present everything? Hmm. I'm still not sure what to do about this. It's like all the handprints here is suspicious, but how would that help him turn off the light above? I don't know, that's a tough one. Maybe he blew into it or something and turned off the upstairs pilot light somehow. I have no idea. Anyway, I forgot where I left off, so let's just, I guess, wander around until I figure it out. No. Nope. Oh, right, Olive. We gotta go talk to her about the dude, about the boyfriend. I forgot about that. Okay, back on track. Oof. 22nd February, St. Bartholomew's Hospital Recovery Ward. Mr. Naruhodo, I've just finished speaking with the doctor. It seems Miss Green is well enough to be discharged at last. This is good news, but hopefully just before she What is it? Miss Green! Ooh, I forgot you. Sorry, what was that? Oh, literally, what was that? She clearly just hid something behind her back. One moment! I'll be with you in a jiffy! Okay. Oh, hello everyone. What are you all doing here? The doctor said I could be discharged, so I'm just getting my things together. Miss Green, what were you just doing? Oh, nothing really. I was just about to take some medicine the doctor prescribed for me. That's all. Well, we were hoping to have another quick chat with you, if that's all right. I don't really have anything else to tell you. Alright, she's definitely behaving strangely. Let's see if we can't coax something out of her. Alright, coaxing begin. Hospital. Damn it, my mouse is like breaking. I gotta get a new frickin' mouse. It's wonderful news that you're going to be discharged, Miss Green. Oh, yes, I mean, thank you. Once people are better, the hospital staff don't want them lingering and wasting space. Not people like me, anyway. So I don't think I should keep anyone waiting. I probably shouldn't stand around and chat. She certainly doesn't seem to be in the mood to talk, that's for sure. Okay, well, that was my only conversation option. Maybe I should shove the picture of her dead ex-boyfriend in her face. That'll make her feel better. Miss Green, we were hoping to ask you about someone. Mr. Duncan Ross? You knew him, didn't you? That's very pink. Oh no, I'm so sorry. The bottle of medicine fell down when she did. Oh, Miss Green, are you alright? Is it talkie time? I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to startle you like that. No, it's alright. I just wasn't expecting it. But how do you know about Duncan? Mr. Ross had been writing a letter when he passed away. The landlord found it in his room. It was a very personal letter to you. I was at the art school. That's where I met Duncan, a year ago now. He was working to fund his studies. He dreamt of becoming a professional artist one day. Oh, is that a picture of him right there? I think I can see him. Kind of looks like a Duncan to me. Dunkin' Donuts. I'm hungry. And the two of you became romantically involved? Yes, that's right. We were very much in love. We were engaged to be married, actually. That's why he decided to move into a cheaper room to save money for the wedding. And that's what led him to Mr. Garadips. Yes, he told me he'd found the worst, but cheapest room in the entire East End. And then, 1 month ago, that's when it happened. We're so terribly sorry, Miss Green. Well, it's all in the past now, I suppose. Poor Miss Green. She looks desperately sad. I was starting to think that's just her look. Boy, that was really... Oh, Sometimes Naruhodo can be really mean. I thought she just always looked depressed like her husband just died. But now I see that she has every reason to feel the universe is against her. Do we get to talk now? Or was that it? Was that the extent of our talking? I do hope you won't think I'm being rude, but... Would you mind leaving me in peace now? I have to leave the hospital soon. Oh, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean to hold you up. Of course, we'll be on our way. Mr. Naruhodo. Surely you are not about to leave. That's quite out of the question. But, Mr. Sholmes, I didn't realize you were here. But of course I was, my dear fellow. Watching intently from the shadows as always. Well, make your presence known next time. Did that rat just drink medicine and die? Am I the only one seeing this here? Does no one else see the rat that just drank the medicine and died? Someone...
Oh, titties!
Thank you for the titties, Bougie. Appreciate it. And hey, Dizzle, how you doing, dude? Welcome on in. How's your evening been? How's your day been? How's your whole week been? It's been at least a week since I've talked to anyone. I gotta stream more often, but... I have a busy social life during the week now. Trivia night, kickball... Whew. Actually, She-Hulk also starts on Wednesday. So I might be busy Wednesday now, too. But... Bears beats Battlestar Galactica indeed, Bougie. Thank you, sir. How you doing today, Tig? You having a good evening? Did you have a good day? You have a good whatever you had? And Dragon, welcome into you too, sir. How are you doing? How is everyone? Y'all let me know what you have been up to, because I am out of the loop. Ooh, especially because my weekend was gone in a flash, but that's kind of usually how it goes. But yes, welcome in, guys. Mr. Sholmes, what's this about? Also, still, dead rat in the corner. No one wants to acknowledge it. Something which occurs to me with some regularity, Miss Usato, is this. Why do detectives insist on such an ex post facto modus operandi? Why solve a case after it's happened, instead of preventing a case before it happens? That is what sets a great detective apart. Is he about to say she was about to kill herself on the goddamn thing because the rat is dead? Sorry. It's been a decent day. We made zucchini shrimp pasta and are happy because it's so good. Well, good. Great. I'm glad you guys spent some time together cooking a decent meal up. It sounds delicious. Hey, Miso, how you doing? Welcome in. How's your evening? How's your weekend been? How was Craps Night? Craps Night was fantastic in that Julian rolled boxcars. So everyone at the table was just like, well, let's see if he does it again. Except for Christian. Because Christian was like, there's no way he's going to roll boxcars again. He rolls boxcars again. Whole room blows up. Everyone gets a ton of money. Except for Christian, who's just sitting there with his mouth open. Oh my god, it was so freaking funny. You would have loved it, buddy. But still, it sounds like you guys probably had a good weekend. At least I know Winter did, because she went to Universal or something. Which is cool. But yeah. That's about how it went. And then the day after... was just board games, which is fun. So, Dragon's been house hunting for rental number 2. Very cool, dude. Very productive. Have you found some good prospects, hopefully? Hopefully not something that you have to invest too much money in flipping before you rent it out, but either way, it still sounds like it would make a decent penny if you did. Christian being Christian. Exactly. He didn't believe, which is weird, because his name's Christian. He should have faith. Anyway. But yeah. What do you mean? There is a case. There is a case waiting to happen under our very noses, Mr. Naruhodo. So let us avert disaster. Let us prevent this case from ever happening. With nothing but careful observation. Alright. All the clues you need are set before you. You need only look and you cannot fail to see. You can do it, Mr. Naruhodo. I know you can. We're not just gonna dive into the... Okay, whatever, I'll talk... Nope, I'm not talking to her. Oh, I'm gonna go look around. That's what I'm doing. It's definitely the fucking dead rat! Sorry. So far, no prospects. Looking into other states now. Well, I hope you find something, within what you're looking for. Like, price-wise. But what state are you looking at now? Just out of curiosity. Obviously, you don't have to answer if you don't want to. Just been chilling, took a break from gaming so I can spend more time with my kid. Aw, that's awesome, dude. I mean, it's always nice to see someone taking care of their kids before, you know, some of their own personal stuff. But hopefully you can get back to gaming soon, and maybe include the kid in it. What's up, Allegory? Hey, Haxus, how you doing? What's up? Not much. Logged out of work about 30 minutes ago, ate some dinner. Now we're here to see if I can ruin my vocal cords fast enough. But yeah, other than that, you know, same old, nothing really new. How have you been, sir? I hope you've been having a good day, weekend, week. It's been a solid week since I last streamed, so. And Mochi apparently wants bunny ears, so redeeming dopamine. Well, there you go. I also made sure to move my camera so it gets more of this, so that these make sense. But hey, Mochi, how you doing? How's your afternoon going? How has your weekend been treating you? How's the new job? I want to hear about that. Utah looking like a good market, just learning more about it first? Fair enough. I don't know anything about Utah, except for Mormons apparently really like it there, but that's about it. And it has that one salt lake. What was it called again? The Great Salt Lake? It was pretty great. I'm about to leave for a year, so I'm just finishing my beer while listening to podcasts on your voice. Well, beer. Okay, well, thank you for the compliment. Appreciate that. But you're leaving for a year? Where are you going? Are you going somewhere for work, or... I can't imagine you're taking a year-long vacation, but if you are, more power to you. That sounds awesome. I would love a year-long vacation. My dad got COVID, so I'm not working right now. That sucks, Mochi. Have you caught it? Or how's your family? Like, is everyone else staying safe and, you know, keeping distance, or are you guys just kind of riding it out together? I'm waiting till October to start streaming again. Best time to play some horror games. That is very fair. October is it? I should probably think of scary games I'm going to play in October, but then again, I play scary games like all the time because I like the scary games. The scary games are good. They really pull you in, immerse you in the environment when they're good enough. You're up with the army. Alright, so you're being deployed, I take it. Okay, that's cool. Is it, where in Europe are you going? Like, is it somewhere where you really wanted to go? Like, did you get to choose? Well, I'm sure you get to choose your... I don't know how the army works, but I assume you get to choose your orders, where you get deployed to, and all that. But yeah, very cool. Very nice. I hope you're going somewhere fun. So that at least when you do get some time in the cities or whatever, you get to do something cool. You gonna try to stream while you're gone? That's awesome. I can't wait to see that. Although, considering it's Europe time, it may be a really awkward schedule for me and my work, but... still awesome. I had COVID 2 times this past winter. It sucks. Yeah, it can be harsh. Yeah. But, if you got your vaccinations and stuff, nothing to worry about. Just gotta ride it out like you would a cold or the flu. I guess I chose, but Balkan, not fun Europe. I don't get to choose or pick. Okay. I thought people got like a choice of orders and you get to pick one, but maybe that's something else. But Balkan, I don't know where Balkan is. Where the hell is Balkan? Balkan. Region in Europe. Balkans, also known as the Balkan Peninsula, is a geographic area in southeastern Europe with various geographical and historical definitions. Well, that didn't really specify which areas that included, but southeastern Europe. Okay. I think it probably means this area right here. Like Greece. That kind of zone. That wouldn't be too bad. Greek food is pretty good. We are keeping distance, but I didn't want to risk it, plus my booster and meds have been knocking me around. Well, good. I'm glad you're not risking it then, especially if you're having like an adverse reaction to your booster or your other medications. Very important to keep those in mind. We wouldn't want you getting even worse off. There isn't many of me in the reserves, so I get chosen. Ah, okay. Well, I'm sorry you didn't get to choose, but hopefully it's still just kind of a... It's not too crazy for you. That's all I can say. I don't know a lot about that area either. Croatia, Kosovo, Serbia, Macedonia. Macedonia always struck me as a word that sounded like Stone Age-ish, but I could just be off a lot. It'll be a fun mission, though. Good, 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 good. That's what matters, buddy. As long as you can have a fun mission, see some parts of Europe, and still stream. That sounds like a win to me. I just have had no energy? I'm so sorry, Mochi. That does suck. Are you resting right now? Have you been resting? Have you been in bed these past few days? I'm gonna be mad if you haven't. You need your rest. You gotta get better. Anyway, that mouse seems to be dead. Look. I didn't notice it there before, did you? I think perhaps it drank the medicine that spilled out of the bottle. But that's the bottle that Miss Green was about to drink from when we arrived. You don't think... Ah, I see you've come to appreciate the true nature of this scene. That of a tragedy about to take place. Yes, I think it's falling into place. Miss Green, the contents of the bottle you had before has spilt out on the floor, and the poor mouse that drank it has sadly died. Ah! I think it's clear the bottle must have contained a powerful poison. Don't worry, I will attend to the mouse presently. She was gonna do it! Oh man, that's so sad. Anyway. Sending energy to Mochi. Goku raising hands meme. Yes, send her all your spirit bomb energy. And if no one's, you know, asleep near you, you can probably shout and scream as well. I hear that sends the energy faster or harder. I forgot how it works in that movie, or not movie, show. But all the screaming really gets you to your goal. At least that's what it's taught me. So, I'm sick of resting. I want to work on my caravan and I'm stuck doing nothing. Well, I'm sorry you're sick of the resting, but the resting is important. But if you have been spending all day resting, you can do a little work. I'm not gonna get upset. What kind of caravan? I'm not sure what kind of caravan she has. I mean, I've seen pictures of it, but it's pretty cool. It's a nice little individual space. Miss Green, were you intending to go the same way as that rodent? To take your own life? Duh! Once we'd left, you would have put it to your lips again, wouldn't you? And taken the poison? No! Miss Green, please, talk to us. First off, what kind of shitty hospital would have just poison lying around for the patients to ingest? That's a lame hospital. 17 feet, desperately want to renovate? I agree. I mean, it's not a terrible caravan, but it definitely can use some tender loving care. That's it. TLC. That's the phrase I was thinking of. The voice actor for Goku states consistently not to try to do the Goku scream because you will destroy your vocal cords without practice. It took him years and various surgeries. Well, maybe not do it for that long or that loud, but I don't know. You can do it in super fast motion. Watch. I'll do the Goku scream. For the episodes where he went Super Saiyan, which was like 20 episodes, but I'll do it really fast, okay? I'm gonna mute myself, though, so your ears don't get blown out. There you go. Really fast. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. I've done a mock-up, and it looks so good. Nice! You should post a picture, or, well, I would love to see your plans somewhere, if you want to send it in Discord or something. I don't know about that question, Haxus. I will let her answer that one for you. What's this note? Is this the suicide note? It definitely feels as though this card must be relevant. I mean, when we first arrived, Miss Green was standing with it in her hand in what can only be described as a very tense atmosphere. Yes, it may very well be related to whatever incident Mr. Sholmes believes was about to happen here. Perhaps we should ask Miss Green about it. Cool. Is this a picture of Duncan? Mr. Duncan Ross. Who would have ever thought he was engaged to be married to Miss Green? To lose one's beloved fiancé must be painful enough. But then Miss Green suffered that awful injury. And outside her fiancé's former lodgings, too. Boy, my ears keep falling. Fate can be very cruel sometimes. Dun, 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 dun. Alright, everything else seems to be checked. Okay. I think we can probably just talk to her now, right? Converse. There it is. 10 seconds later, and we would have arrived at a very different scene here. In all probability, we would not have enjoyed this most delightful conversation. Of course, perhaps it hasn't been quite so delightful from your perspective, Miss Green. Actually, in a way, now that everything's out in the open, I feel like a weight has been lifted. Tell me, how did you acquire that medicine? Well, with this being a hospital and all, when the doctor comes to examine me in the mornings, he always leaves the medicine cabinet open for a while, so I snuck this out when he wasn't looking. It conspicuously lacks a label. I wonder what it contains. I'm afraid I don't really know. But I thought if I drank it, it might just stop the pain somehow. Boy, this game is getting into some heavy fucking shit. Holy crap. Okay. Alright, that guy redeemed Blonde Wig, so we're gonna throw that on for a bit. And then after that, no, I'm not doing all three. I can't do all three. No. I just thought about it. I was gonna consider it, but I can't because the bunny ears and the Chinese hat wouldn't mesh. You can't put the bunny ears and the Chinese hat on. But I will start with the blonde wig. We'll wear this for a bit, and then we'll go into the Chinese hat. Right. But welcome in, that guy. How you doing? Today was something else. I really hope you mean that in a good way. Do you mean it in a good way? I hope you mean it in a good way. You can share with us if you need to. You don't have to if you don't. But other than that, something else. I hope you're doing okay, friend. I don't know how the fuck this actually goes on. This thing looks ridiculous. I love it, though. Ah, it's so funny. Bougie, if you're still watching, you should probably let Winter know that I'm wearing my Fred hair, so... Darn so close. Sorry, Hexus. If it was physically possible, I might have considered it, but... Yeah, the ears and the hat conflict, so... I reunited with my old crew, the original crew of the Howling Winds, united 3 years apart, but 2 of my best friends had a fight and I had to defuse everything. Ah... Your Sea of Thieves crew. Well, I'm glad that you were able to get back in touch with them and you know, reunite, but I'm sorry that there was a bunch of infighting and you had to play mediator. That's never fun. That's for sure. But, you know, what time is it right now? I'll just check the activity feed. That's fine. But, yeah, that really sucks, dude. I'm sorry. Oh, please, Miss Green, don't talk of such things. Well, it seems clear now that it contains poison. Yes, that poor little mouse is proof of that. Oh no! No, it's all my fault! What have I done? I shall remove this to my office, Miss Green. I take it you have no objection? No, none. Okay, cool. Well, we stopped her from making a big mistake. Now let's ask about the card. It's the other torn half in the room. Da-da-na-na-na. Sorry. My original SOT crew got together again, but two of my friends, not from SOT. Oh! Oh, okay, so good in that your crew got back together, bad in that real-life friends you had to mediate for. Okay. Separate instances, still, kind of a bummer you had to play mediator. But I hope it ended well. I mean, it would suck to lose friends that way. Depending on what they're fighting over, I guess. I don't know what this argument was about. It could have been about something small, like my shoe color. Although if anyone got upset about my shoe color, I would be very concerned for them. But that's a whole nother story. Miscommunication? Alright, then yeah, that's a silly thing to get upset about. But we're not judging. I'm just hoping it ended amicably and everything is okay. Neither the sender's name or address appear to be written on the envelope or the card. It arrived by post at my home the day before the incident that put me in the hospital here. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. Okay, hold on. Question. When did she get this letter? It arrived by post at my home the day before the incident that put me in the hospital. So the day before she was walking home and the knife went in her back, she got this letter saying to meet her somewhere, blah, blah, blah. I feel like that's going to be important. Because that means the letter was opened. What? Where was it opened? Because I found the other half of the letter in the room. I don't know. This ain't making sense. I'm going to get confused because I only have 2 brain cells working right now. And one of them's asleep. I helped my dad redo the 17 feet new side of floor and general stuff like ceilings was such the pop-up feature. That's really cool. I'm glad you helped your dad with redoing his caravan. That's awesome. Wait a minute. The 17th of this month? That's the day you were stabbed on Briar Road. And 5 p.m. is precisely the time when the incident occurred. She was on her way to the salad bar? I already forgot what the bar was called. The Slug and Salad. That was it. Okay, well there it is right again for me because I'm stupid. The Slug and Salad, yes. A pub on the northern corner of Briar Road. Briar Road, being the street that Mr. Garredeb's house is on. Does this mean that... Yes, I'm sure you've guessed. That day when I was struck in the back by the knife, I was actually on my way to the Slug and Salad. That is a terrible name for a restaurant or a bar or anything in general. Wait. I don't need to take off the blonde wig for the Chinese hat. Okay, I gotta stand up to get that. I'll be right back. Ugh. I don't know why it dawned on me halfway through reading that. I can technically wear both, I think. Does this look natural? No. No, it doesn't at all. A blonde man with a black beard and a Chinese hat? I look crazy. Crazy good. Anyway. Goodness. So that's what you were doing on Briar Road that day. I'm sorry I didn't say anything before. It's okay. It's kind of a loaded... The letter said not to, I guess. I don't know. I think I really will have to ask you to excuse me now. I've told you everything. Yes, I'm very sorry to have had to drag up such painful memories for you. No, it's fine. Miss Green. Please, promise you won't try to do anything like that again. Yes, don't worry. Your detective friend has the bottle now anyway. And besides, I've been stabbed in the back and had a close shave with a bottle of poison, and I'm still here. I think I'm destined to see things through to the end. It might sound a little conceited, but well, that's how all this has made me feel. This hat is awesome. Leaving Miss Green and St. Bartholomew's behind, we made our way back to Baker Street with Mr. Sholmes. Well, it would appear we've reached the end of the investigative trail for today. Yeah, it's late. And Mr. Naruhodo? Did you discover anything that may be of use to you in court tomorrow, do you think? Details about Mr. Shamspeare, Mr. Garretib's lodgings, the convict Selden. There are many facets to this case, and we're yet to see the heart of it, if you ask me. That's my feeling, anyway. I can't help wondering about the results of the analysis. Into Mr. Natsume's tea, you mean? Yes. Will they have found strychnine in it or not? Well, I fear that either way. It will be hard to escape the grip of our friend Mr. Reaper. Oh dear. Yes, Barak Van Zieks. Which is another thing I kind of have an issue with in this game. I don't know if anyone else has noticed it yet or not, but they seem to be implying that Baron Von Zieks is racist, and I really wasn't getting that in the first game. I mean, I know he used the phrase, my learned Nipponese friend, a lot, but that didn't really strike me as racist. My learned Japanese friend, like, doesn't sound like an insult, you know? Anyway, I'm always down to talk about anything with wheels or caravans. That's cool. I wish I had that kind of dedication to a hobby. Well, I do this decently enough, and that's about as much of a hobby as I have, so... In the Japanese script, he was more racist. They just had to tone him down. Ah, okay. That would explain a lot. I'm trying to correct my hat here. That would make a lot more sense. So, I will keep that in that... I will take that answer and put it right next to my question of that. Boop. But I wish you every success, of course, and though I was late to rise this morning, tomorrow will be a new dawn. I intend to spring from my bed at a crisp hour and attend the trial. Mr. Sholmes, you're going to come? Indeed, whatever happens, I shall be there. Assuming my eyelids cooperate in the morning. Well, I think we've done all we can. All that's left is to remain focused and keep fighting for Mr. Natsume's cause until the very end. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, God. I can't shake my head too much with this act. London, the world's most prosperous city, home to some 6 million people. Oh my god. I'm pretty sure Los Angeles has like 25, 30, somewhere there. But away from the razzle-dazzle, down back alleys and behind bricked-up windows, the lonely lurk. Soseki-sen had battled long and hard with loneliness during his many months here, and so I felt honor-bound to battle equally hard for my compatriot, to lift the curse that gripped him. As Mr. Sholmes said, tomorrow would be a new dawn. For all of us. I'm still curious about all the questions at the end of the first game. Like, there's things that happened that I still don't know the truth about. Like the Hounds of the Baskervilles. Anyway, I'm hoping they get to that, but we'll see. If they kept half of the stuff he said in the Japanese script, this game would simply not release. Perhaps. I could probably see that. Same reason why Mother 3 wouldn't ever release. Gotcha. Okay. I getcha. And hey, Fern, how you doing, buddy? Welcome on in. How's your evening going? How was your weekend? How was your last week? It has been a solid week since I've seen any of you, and I've missed you all. I hope you all have been up to good things. You ordered food? That's so nice. I love ordering food. What'd you order? Was it something delicious? It wasn't Marmite, was it? Isn't Marmite that Australian condiment that just tastes terrible? Vegemite, that's what I'm thinking of. Maybe Marmite. I don't know. Is this intentionally a Sherlock Holmes adaptation? Yes, yes it is. In Japan, the rights to Sherlock Holmes are kind of like loose. So in the original version, he's actually called Sherlock Holmes. In this version, to get released in the U.S. or in England, they had to switch it up to Herlock Sholmes. So yep. Vegemite's Vietnamese? I did not know that. Still not a fan of it. I tried it once when I think a friend from New Zealand came over. Not a fan. Anyway, 23rd February, 9:23 a.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Oh, God. Why are you in my face, Soseki? This isn't tense at all. This is it then, Mr. Naruhodo? Yep, it's time to put an end to this now, to the miserable curse that has been plaguing Mr. Natsume, to everything. And in my own small way, I shall do everything I can to help you. I always appreciate your help, Miss Usato. Suffering Soseki selfishly sidelined! Ah! Good morning to you too, Mr. Natsume. I was answering your question. Marmite is British. Ah, okay. I am learning lots of stuff tonight, like where the Balkan Peninsula is, and Vegemite and Marmite. Look at me learning, guys. I think I might have 3 brain cells. Surprise. I'm doing great. I worked today. It went well. Good, good, good. Worked on some music. Awesome so far. Did some chores. Productive. I like that. Saw some family. Not something I really relate to, but I understand the importance of family, so I'm glad that you had some time with them too. And now I had dinner and I'm chilling and taking it easy. Probably gonna rage the fuck out on Fortnite. That sounds like a nice, full, productive, enjoyable day. So, good for you, Fern. You deserve to get a nice chicken dinner. Oh no, that's PUBG. Victory Royale, that's it. Sorry. I'm not 100% on all the Battle Royale games, but I'm pretty sure PUBG was a winner chicken dinner, and Fortnite is a Victory Royale. And Apex Legend is a Victory Royale with cheese. So, like, that's about the extent of my knowledge. But still, I'm going to wish you the best of luck, and I appreciate you dropping by. I'm hoping you're going to lurk, but if not, it's still cool. But still, either way, good to see you again, and I'm glad you're doing great, my friend. And they are all fighting for second place. Second place to what? Oh, are you talking about my brain cells? Yeah, no. I would say one of them's maybe fighting for second place. The other 2 are just, like, trying to lick that frozen pole in the backyard, so. Good morning, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Listen to you two, chatting away happily as if the main player of today's trial isn't here. Why would you do that? Why? Oh dear, I didn't mean to cause offense, Mr. Natsume. I thought perhaps that because you had your eyes shut so tightly, you were meditating, finding inner calm. It seemed wrong to disturb you. I was waiting. What's the matter, Mr. Natsume? You seem different somehow today. Why, naturally, that's because I've attained spiritual enlightenment. The path of literature, you see, is a journey to discover one's own death. Oh, such like. That's the sort of morning conversation I was hoping for. That's why I had my eyes shut. I missed the signs, I'm afraid, somehow. You'll have to forgive me. And you mustn't talk of your path leading you to death, Mr. Natsume. That was just an example! Oh yes, there it is. Inner calm. Nailed it. You barely came to see me at all yesterday. I was sure you'd abandoned me. Let's return to our beautiful long-lost homeland. We've not even been in Great Britain a week yet. Yes, well, anyway. I intend to set everything straight in court today. I'm determined to uncover the truth. I've actually reached an important decision myself. Oh, what sort of decision? I shall fill you in after the trial. Okay, cool. I was hoping it'd be information that would help us with our case today, so you don't go to jail and die. But, cool, after the trial. That makes sense. It would seem Mr. Sholmes isn't coming today after all. It's a very clever message, I think. My dear fellows, you must win this battle on your own merits. It's a very clear message, I think, that he's overslept again. The great detective, my arch nemesis. Long may he stay away, if you ask me. Defendant and your legal representative, the trial is about to begin. Make your way into the courtroom immediately. I'm just gonna make the bailiffs robots. I like that idea. That's nice. Today, once again, we face the Reaper. And when the Reaper stands for the prosecution, the defendant's fate is sealed. Sealed. But I don't believe in that legend any more than I believe in Soseki-san's curse. The truth is hidden here somewhere, and I won't let it escape me. I didn't get the letter, did I? No, she didn't give me the freaking letter. But that's gonna link Shamspear to Duncan. I feel like it is. I have a feeling. I have to keep believing in my client and keep fighting to the very end. That's all. Dun 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 dun. I know I'm wearing the hat to hide it, guys, but I dyed my hair today. Like 5 minutes ago. Look at it. It's so luscious and blonde. I would not succeed with fucking blonde hair, that's for sure. I got Vietnamese crispy pork, fried rice, and boba. Oh, that all sounds delicious. I am so jealous, Mochi. Although, my dinner was not half bad either. It was creamy, cheesy pesto pork chop with some cauliflower rice. And it was nice because it kind of like bled into it from the top. So the pesto and the cheese and everything mixed together. Ooh, it was really nice. Very good. I'll probably have to get that again. And Mochi insists on the bunny. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of this. Boop. Get rid of this. Boop. Now my hair looks terrible. That sounds good. It was. It was surprisingly good. I wasn't expecting it to be that good, but it turned out well. But still, Vietnamese pork, fried rice, and boba also sounds delicious, so you enjoy that. 23rd February, 9:40 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. Oh, I'm not going to be able to remember what I gave those people. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. Yes, the defense is ready. Very good. And now I call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury, chosen by lot to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to proceed? I don't... You could keep the wig. Technically yes, but my head was getting a little hot. So, I'm going to stick with just the ears for now. But if someone redeems it, I am obligated to put it back on. God, I forgot these. Absolutely. Justice will be done. You mark my words. I feel obliged to say I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat is sitting just right. Oh, well, I wonder if you could just my hat for me, and please be as ruthless as you like. Thieves deserve to die, if you ask me. Especially gas thieves. I've no sympathy for the men at all. Look, I said it yesterday and I'll say it again now. I don't have time for this. I got my own problems. Oh, may the Lord show us all the light here and lead his flock to a righteous verdict again today. Now, Lord Van Zies, what can you tell us? The prosecution's report, please, for the court. In relation to the theory expounded by the defense yesterday regarding the defendant's tea. So he does have the results. Before the prosecution delivers the black news about the black tea belonging to the black god in the dock. Pray, allow me a moment to savor a liquid of a more sanguine hue. In fact, I'll defer to the good detective for the report. Here's to you, Inspector. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. As indicated by the defense, we found a bar suit just outside the victim's window in the snow. And there was indeed a frozen reddish liquid in a little depression on the top of it. Yes, that's the tea. That's what Mr. Natsume brought with him that night. Well, the brains at the yard analyzed it, and yes, you're right, it was tea. And there wasn't a trace of strychnine or any other toxic substance in it. No poison at all. In other words, the tea that the defendant brought with him to the victim's room is innocent. It's in the clear. What a revelation. As I suspected. This makes it quite clear. The defendant, Mr. Saseki Natsume, is blameless here. My learned friend is jumping to conclusions again. A typical Nipponese reaction. What? Yes, it's true no poison was found in the few drops of liquid recovered from the soap on the window ledge. But what logic is that? Would you take a drop from the Thames and conclude that the water in the ocean isn't salty? My word, the water in the ocean is extremely salty, Counsel. Exactly. Unfit for drinking, just as the victim's tea was on the night in question, as the court has already heard. Bitter was the precise word from the lips of Mr. William Shamspeare, whom the prosecution now calls back to the stand. Oh boy, I kind of saw that coming. It's like, yeah, the tea in the bar soap wasn't laced with poison, but who's to say the one afterwards wasn't? Anyway, moving on. Very well, I will uphold the prosecution's request. Mr. Shamspeare. Yeah, sounds like we're going to have another confrontation with our theatrical friend. Bailiff, show Mr. Shamspeare to the stand. Oh, good. I get to do his voice, if I can remember it. Mr. William Shamspeare, the victim of this despicable crime. Oh, heaven! Oh, hell! Do you command me to remember? Forsooth, 'twas I, Shamspeare, did have a bellyful of the foul fluid given in mine innocence. Yes, but as was revealed in yesterday's proceedings, the witness is not as innocent as we had perhaps first been led to believe. By using bars of soap such as this, he has been stealing gas from the supply company, yes? One may smile, and be a villain. Forsooth, 'twas I, Shamspeare, did have a roomful of the sweet fuel given. That's right, fellow jurors, don't forget, this man is a rotten thief. I haven't forgotten. I kept all that about the ice coins a tidy secret, didn't you? You should have owned up sooner. Arrest him, I say. Arrest him at once, and let him feel the sting in my tail. Oh, indeed. By dint of vile and cowardly means have I plotted to further mine own ends, I confess. Thou wouldst not pardon my sins, of that I am sure. If you acknowledge your wrongdoing, what exactly are you doing here? Cowards die many times before their deaths. And for a coward such as I, death be well deserved. But would it that a still greater crime passeth unpunished? For lo, the hairy-faced gentleman of farther east than Verona did contrive to poison me. Objection. But there was no poison in the tea found in your room. The police have attested to that. What the defense would assert as an inconsistency will quickly be cleared up by the witness's testimony. Is that not so, Mr. Shamspeare? Verily, my liege, I would most gladly speak. Very well. Let the witness testify to explain this inconsistency. Tell the court why it is that the poison apparently entered your body, though none was found in the tea. Oh, God. I don't think my vocal cords are ready for this. Witness testimony, the tea inconsistency. The Japanese man did come to my chamber with tea brewed in a pot. 'Twas in my cup alone that the wicked miscreant secretly poured his wicked poison. Whilst feigning distraction in our debate, ne'er did a drop of his own drink pass his lips. When he departed by and by, I did use the tea that remained in his cup to make my coins of ice. Thus 'tis no surprise that poison be not found in the tea I did pour into the moulds of soap. Yeah, that's a load of crap. We already have the cups to prove it. The poison was slipped into the cup after the tea had been poured. The normal way for poison to be administered, in my experience. I would like to hear what his experience is from the Reaper. That evil asshole. Quite. Otherwise it would be disastrous if the poisoner were to mix up the cups, for instance. But no poison bottle is found at the scene. Because, quite simply, the Nipponese took the bottle back to his own room. The absence of a vessel containing the poison only becomes problematic when considering suicide. Ugh, I knew that. By now it should be perfectly clear. A bar or two of cheap soap is wholly insufficient to wash the deep stains of guilt from the accused's hands. Accused. Wow, I got that one wrong. It's accused. Sirs, madams, 'tis true that I, Shamspeare, be a common thief of gas. But, listen here, ladies and gentlemen! I did a good job straightening that out again. Wherefore would I lie? Verily, I have no cause. I have naught to lose. Well, I do declare. I don't know what I gave him again. It is hard to remember all these voices, I'm going to be honest. Thank you for your testimony, witness. Counsel, proceed with the cross-examination. Yes, my lord. Cross-examination. The T inconsistency. Alright. I'm pretty sure I know where we need to go with this. But, as a basic rule for Phoenix Wright game, or Ace Attorney games, I should say, we press everything. I understand that you are already acquainted with Mr. Natsume, is that correct? I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers. Do I know thee? I know thee not. Methinks 'tis all I can know, that thy destiny mingles with mine. You lost me at the first thee. Zounds, sir, thou must learn the English tongue afore thou turns thy hand to lawyering. I did, but I must have missed the archaic Elizabethan lecture. Verily, and in truth, 'twas a fine flavoured brew, though a drop of poison did bob its sweetness, as the thorn doth bob the sweet rose. That, dear friends, be the simple truth. Listen to Mr. Shamspeare, he seems even better. My name's Zato, and I can't talk right. Sorry. He seems in even better form than he was yesterday. Jesus Christ. But either that, or I'm in worse form. That fated evening, after I did dine on soap at Grubb's Grubbery, a local alehouse of good rapport, naught did pass my lips but the tainted black tea. But behold, the poison was not in the tea at first. Okay, 'twas in my cup alone that the wicked miscreant secretly poured wicked poison. Hold it right there, sir. Are you saying that you saw the moment when the poison was added to your tea? To have witnessed the act and then drank the tea? Thou dost describe the actions of a fool. So spot on, huh? Quite so, quite so. But no one likes going thirsty, do they? So you're saying you saw him pour the tea, the poison in the tea, and then was like, but I'm parched. Why not? Oh my god, this guy's stupid. This guy's got a lot of screws loose. If he built a house with all his screws, it would blow over in a light breeze. Sooner would I die quenched than parched, would I have the choice. Actually, on the night in question, the water main was frozen, I believe, wasn't it? Were it not for the tea, in sooth I would sooner have died frozen than quenched or parched. Right. No ice coins means no heating. The witness had more than one brush with death on the night in question, it would seem. Remind the court, Mr. Shamspeare, as to whether the accused drank any of the tea which he brought with him. With the greatest of pleasure, my liege. This is the one that's full of shit. Whilst feigning distraction in our debate, narrative drop. Yeah, I don't. Always drink it while it's hot. But the teacup Mr. Natsume drank from was found completely empty at the scene. And let's not forget the defendant's maxim. Drink tea while it's hot. Okay, he's way ahead of me, apparently. I don't know why I'm playing this game. I should just let him play it. I did gulp from the poisoned cup that night, and in mine agony did I writhe uncontrolled. In fits of pain I did knock the fellow's cup, and its contents spilt as blood from a gaping wound, methinks. Though certainly 'twas after I had made the coins of ice from his tea. That doesn't make any sense with the order of shit. An upset cup was found on the table that the victim was slumped over. There is no contradiction here. It's true, there was no tea left in either cup that we found at the scene. But still, something about this statement is troubling me. Yeah, of course, I know what it is. It's Mr. Natsume's wise drink tea while it's hot maxim, isn't it? Whoa, they are pulling me way too into this role of Naruhodo. I could have sworn that's what we were going to go with. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm an idiot now. This game's making me an idiot. Well, more of an idiot, you know, just building on top of what's already there. The bunny ears certainly don't help with that statement. No, I'm not sure that's it. Thank you, witness. Now reiterate for the court what it is that occupied you after your guest had left and before you drank your tea. When he departed by and by, I did use the tea that remained in his cup to... He just claimed he knocked it over. How is this not automatically perjury?
Hold it!
Press it. Yes, so that you could cheat the gas company, in fact. Isn't that right? To cheat or to die? 'Tis life's only choice. Yeah. Faith, to cheat be the wise choice, and mine occupation be not an ugly one. Prithee, dost thou not see beauty in the simplicity of the ruse? No, I don't. And be very sure, sir. Once this trial is over, Altamont Gas will take you to task over this legal task. I shall not run, I shall not hide. Sooth to say, I have nowhere to run nor to hide. But, my lady, what wouldst thou with this pitiful player? Oh, I'll tell you what I'd like to do with you, starting with the shoddy shirt on your back. 'Tis time for a Shakespeare dance. What a harsh world we live in. The thieving of the gas was addressed in yesterday's proceedings. The prosecution calls on the defense not to muddy the waters with irrelevancy. Consider that a warning, counsel. Yes, my lord. Why am I the one in trouble here? Mr. Shakespeare, after the accused returned to his own lodgings, you used his tea to make your coins. Is that correct? To cheat or to die? I did make my choice many moons ago. Thus, there's no surprise that poison be not found in the tea I did pour into the molten soap. You just said it spilled out on the ground.
Hold it!
If he says something about pouring Natsume's tea into it instead of his tea... Oh, man. If having first made your special coins, it was after 2 in the morning when you collapsed. That would mean you can't have drunk any tea yourself until around that time. Once ensnared by literary debate, naught else be found in the furrows of the mind. The debate about Romeo and Juliet, you mean? And who was the stronger of the two? Rightly did I pay no heed to the tea as I wrestled with the abominable fellow. I don't remember debates like that when I was studying. Are you suggesting that neither of you actually drank the tea whilst it was hot that evening? My lord, wouldst thou be privy to some Shakespearean wisdom? Husband, wife, and tea ought a tepid be. Ah, yes, so very true. Everyone has different preferences when it comes to tea. I think you might have interpreted that wrongly. So it's been proven that there was no poison in Soseki-san's tea. That should be hugely in our favor. The atmosphere in this courtroom today feels as though everybody's against us, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, wrong voice. It feels as though everybody's against us, Mr. Naruhodo. Boy, Susato's voice dropped a few octaves for a second. It must be the Reaper's poison. I'm afraid that if we don't find a significant flaw in this testimony somewhere, the jury will pounce and find Mr. Natsume guilty. It really feels like we've jumped into the fire here. So I'm thinking... Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to get my page up just in case I got stuck, because it always irritates me when the connections are too elaborate, too stretched, you know? Sometimes the game likes to make these weird arcs, but this one I think we got. Because tea in the pot, my cup alone that the wicked miscreant secretly... Okay, I can't really prove against that one. But whilst feigning distraction in our debate, Nair did a drop of his own drink past his lips. He claims Natsume didn't drink a single one. When he departed by and by, I did use the tea that remained in his cup to make my coins of ice. I think this is where I present it, because his cup was clean. Or Natsume's cup was clean. Sham Spears is the one that had the ring around it. There is no tea ring on the inside of Mr. Natsume's cup. Yep, this is, I think, it.
Objection.
Okay, cool. Good. Easy start. You claim that Mr. Natsume didn't drink a drop of tea on the night in question, and that you used the tea that was left in his cup to make your fake coins. But that's not possible. Oh my god. I almost tried to start talking, and choked on my spit, because I am a horrible human being. How, chop logic! What is this, ye dark-claddy fiend? Oh my god. I'm losing him. The two teacups from the scene, one used by the victim, and the other by the defendant, have a clear difference between them. One that represents incontrovertible proof. Incontrovertible? What difference? Look at the inside of the cups. Just here, there's a clearly visible ring. Yes, a tea ring, commonplace enough. Indeed, such stains occur all too readily when one leaves tea in the cup for a while. And yet, Mr. Natsume's cup has no such ring. Good lord, you're right. It's completely clean. And prithee, sir, what makest thou of it? Exactly what Mr. Natsume told the court yesterday. The Japanese saying he quoted. Drink tea while it's hot. It was going so fast I couldn't get the voice, sorry. That's right, yes. The jittery Mr. Natsume was true to his usual self that night and drank his tea in no time. Ah! If, as you claim in your testimony, he didn't touch a drop of his tea, a ring would have developed on the inside of his cup as well, after the several hours the tea was left standing. But, in short, Mr. Shamspear, you clearly lied to the court. Get thee to a nunnery!
Objection.
As a rule, I fill my hallowed chalice up to 7 times during any one trial. You might want to keep that information to yourself. Yet on occasion, tedium distracts me, and I pour more times than I intended until the bottle is dry. Your drinking habits are fascinating, but irrelevant. On the contrary, they illustrate the fickleness of human memory. To William Shamspear. Yes, my liege? Though you previously stated that you made the coins of ice from the leftover tea in the accused's cup, could it be that you were perhaps mistaken? Eh? Could it be that, yes, perhaps there was some tea remaining in the small teapot left at the scene? A fact that had vanished from your memory until now. Oh, fuck this guy. Faith, my liege, thou art a magician! For verily it is as thou hast seen with thine own eyes that night. What? Forsooth, I was mistook. I did plan to use tea from the Japanese fellow's cup, but lo, when I looked 'twas empty. And thus did I use the dregs that festered in the teapot, as my liege did suggest.
Objection.
And you just suddenly remembered now that you made a mistake before? Are we supposed to believe that?
Objection.
People's memories are imperfect, my learned friend, which is why we rely on evidence instead. But in any case, it makes no difference. The victim's most recent testimony tells us two things of note. Firstly, that the poison was put into the victim's teacup only. And secondly, that this sport cup was not the source of the insipid ice coins that have bewitched this court.
The prosecution makes a fine summary of the facts.
Furthermore, that testimony remains valid and in full support of the established facts. In other words, the inconsistency claimed by the defense simply does not exist. No. Well, I don't have control over this. I'm not going to do their voices. I'm sorry. Oh, calm down, roly-poly. My lords, ladies, and gentlemen of the jury, I do solemnly swear, after I did dine at Grubb's Grubbery Alehouse that night, naught did pass my lips, but the black tea given me by the Japanese whose back be stooped as low as death.
And on what did you dine, sir?
Why, I did partake of my favourites. A broth as wouldst be called soup, and a leaf as wouldst be called salad. As insalubrious a menu as the establishment where it was served. But you gods will give us some faults to make us men. Willingly would I suffer what punishment 'tis seen fit to serve a wicked thief of gas. But I pray ye wise and noble fellows ne'er forget the simple truth. That be one thing, and this be another. Jurors all, your humble servant Shamspeare doth entreat you, punish the Japanese fellow for his sins. My lord. Okay, cool, it was him.
If I may speak, my lord. Yes, Mr. Foreman.
I believe we may have been duped by that rotten defense lawyer. By me? I do declare you may be right. We all know the wife there was making coins of ice to keep himself warm. But this loyal lad says if he's stealing gas, he deserves a dose of poison, eh? He's been leading us up the garden path, that's what he's been doing. I really never said anything like that. But what we just heard from the victim there has opened our eyes again. We've reached a decision this time, and we won't be swayed from it.
The court acknowledges the position of the jury foreman, and will duly hear the jury's findings.
What? No, you can't yet.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your decisions now.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Oh, roly-poly motherfucker, you didn't even hear anything.
I hereby declare the jury to be in one accord.
Oh, happy day! How is this happening? My lord, the defense asserts its right to carry out a summation examination.
Very well, the court upholds the defense's right.
Typical. My learned friend is unable to accept the obvious truth.
This trial will therefore enter its second summation examination immediately. Jurors, the court calls upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find the defendant guilty of the crime of which he is charged.
Oh, good. Juror voice practice. That's what I needed. Judicial findings.
I'm a man of logic, me, and having considered all the evidence, the defendant must logically be guilty.
I do agree that gas is far too expensive. I can quite understand why the man would want to avoid paying. The stuff explodes and it can poison you. It's absolutely lethal, gas is. Gas doesn't come for free. It costs a fortune to deliver it around the city and maintain the pipes.
Truth be told, the tea my wife serves up for me is a little sketchy at times. If nothing else passed the victim's lips that night, there's no other explanation, is there? Boy, I don't like their voices, that's for sure. Should probably stop doing them, but I don't want to. I do feel that perhaps personal opinion about gas and its supply has influenced decisions somewhat. But never mind. No, you really should mind.
The truth is, our counter-argument wasn't as unassailable as we'd hoped. And Mr. Shamspear was poisoned. There can be no doubt of that.
And how are we supposed to turn this around?
I think we need to establish the method by which Mr. Shamspear was actually poisoned. Our only hope is to demonstrate that to the court incontrovertibly.
But that's surely almost impossible at this stage.
If we don't manage it, though, Mr. Natsume will
Be found guilty. Yeah, I know. Thanks, Susato. Always the uplifting one, aren't you? No delays, counsel. Proceed with the summation examination.
Jury examination.
The defense's rebuttal. He said but. Alright, let's press this dude. All the evidence, you say? That's right. And there's no room for doubt. It's all pointing at that Japanese man with the big mustache. Says the Englishman with the bigger mustache.
Which means we need to show the man some new evidence to make him change his mind.
If only we had that kind of evidence.
Don't worry, the summation examination has barely started, really. Perhaps there will be a shift in the situation that shows an existing piece of evidence in a new light.
Let's hope so. To start with, though, I need to find some way out of this deadlock. Alright, on to Betty Boop-looking lady.
I do...
Oh, I already said that. This isn't the time or the place to be discussing the price of gas, madam.
But really, think of the injustice. Air is a gas, and air is free. Why should Altamont gas cost money? It makes my blood boil. I could feel myself becoming more ruthless than ever.
This isn't the time or the place to be ruthless either.
If I might interject here.
Yes, madam?
It seems my fellow juror takes issue with the price our company charges for gas. But it's precisely because of thieves like this man that the cost goes up. Oh, what a beastly man. That unkempt mustache, those hunched shoulders, poisoning tea and stealing gas, utterly unforgivable.
No, Mr. Natsume isn't the one who's been stealing gas. I'll thank you not to go adding on more crimes.
Mr. Natsume hasn't been poisoning tea either. Well, anyway, I've quite made up my mind. It's as made up as the price of gas.
I'm surprised the last one didn't have something to say about that one. Could we please talk about the poison rather than the gas, do you think, sir? Well, if you like, I mean, to be honest, I'd take poison over gas every time. You'd take poison? What I mean is, poison can only poison you. It doesn't explode, does it?
Goodness me, what are you talking about? Set him straight, please, lawyer man.
Well, it's certainly true that poison isn't prone to exploding. But I think you'll find poison also can't light or heat up a room. Ah! You're right! I hadn't considered that at all.
Young lawyer man,
Yeah?
you have a good head on your shoulders. We could use someone like you as our company's legal representative.
Well, I wasn't expecting to pick up more business in the middle of a trial, that's for sure. Anyway, the point is, I haven't had the best experience with gas companies in the past. Not sure why that makes my guy guilty. I'd really like to find some new evidence to get out of this. Dun, dun. Can we please refrain from all this talk of gas?
There's an all-out attack underway here, in case you hadn't noticed, against my company's gas. And I'm supposed to sit here and take it, am I? I don't think so.
Just really buzzing now.
All I've heard about our wonderful fuel is explosions and poisonings. What about electricity, What about getting electrocuted? What about that? A little explosion here and there's nothing in comparison.
Any explosion could hardly be described as nothing, madam. Nevertheless, the theft of your gas is deplorable.
My point exactly. But the gas thieves aren't even the worst of our enemies. We have far more devious reprobates to contend with on a daily basis, you know.
More devious? Who, madam?
Other gas companies, of course.
Other gas companies? Not quite what I was expecting.
We generate gas and we deliver it to our customers fair and square.
Indeed, nobody is questioning that, madam. Altamont is an exemplary gas company.
But there are other unscrupulous gas companies here in London that don't even have any gas at all.
What? But if they don't have any gas, how do they go about selling it to people?
You wouldn't think it possible, would you? But they steal our gas, you see, and sell that.
They steal your gas. How on earth is such a thing possible?
Gas companies like ours deliver gas to people's homes via a network of pipes. But these devious reprobates secretly disconnect our pipes and divert our gas into their own rotten pipes. Then they make a contract with the household supplied by those pipes, and take money for the precious gas that's rightfully ours, without us even knowing.
They're diverting gas into their own pipes illegally. I mean,
They're diverting
I can't. Blah, blah, blah. My voice is already losing, but it's okay. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep plowing through. Giggity.
They're diverting gas into their own pipes illegally. What a brazen form of theft. When we visit customers' houses to collect the money from their meters, we always have to check whether or not one of these devious companies
Yeah.
Has been up to its tricks. I'm sorry, sir. Did you have something you want to say?
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say about that, juror number 3? Oh, golly, you mean me? I'm terribly sorry. I was just thinking to myself. Really had to catch him off guard there. Thinking about what the lady next to you was saying, correct? Well, yeah. I got a little riled up about it recently, you see. Go on. An Altamont gas worker visited my house the other day to investigate the pipe work. We need to ask for your cooperation while we carry out a secret check of your property, sir, the fellow said. So I let him in. And do you know what he did? I'm afraid I have no idea. Please, tell us. He proceeded to take one of my lights off the wall. Then he grabbed the exposed mouth of the pipe and started blowing into it.
What do you think you're doing, young man? You're giving away company secrets there.
Oh, please, everybody knows, but it was very nearly the death of me, I can tell you. What do you mean?
I'll explain if you don't mind. As I said before, these unscrupulous other gas companies connect their customers to our pipe network.
Yes, but how does blowing into the pipes come into it?
Obviously, there's gas in the pipes, and it's at a fairly low pressure. By blowing air through the pipe, you can make the pressure drop temporarily. And if you do that, any lights connected to the same pipe will flicker for a moment.
Ah, I see. In other words, if, upon blowing into the pipe, the lights of an adjacent property that has no contract with your company flicker, you can know that these devious scoundrels have been meddling with the pipes. I need to reread that. Hold on. By blowing through the pipe, you can make the pressure drop temporarily, and if you do that, any lights connected to the same pipe will flicker for a moment. Garrett, sorry, I'm like leaning off camera, I apologize. Garrideb was saying that, he keeps track of who uses the gas in his pipes by his flickering. So there were the handprints on the wall showing where Shamspear was blowing into it. Somehow, that makes Garrideb's flicker. How does that turn off Natsume's, though, and try to choke him and kill him? I don't know, that's a tough one.
Exactly, my lord. That's it in a nutshell. It's the reason why we have teams of workers going around neighborhoods to investigate which lights flicker.
Wait. In other words, if upon blowing into the pipe, the lights of the proper. Oh, I see. So he's saying if one of her workers blows into the pipe and the next door neighbors aren't a customer, but their pipe flickers, it means they're on the same pipe and they're taking their gas for free. Or one of the other companies are stealing it. Got it. The trouble is, the particular worker who came to my house didn't know the strength of his own breath. He blew down the pipe with all his might. And you can guess what happened, can't you? Well, if he blew hard, then... Wait, you mean... That's right, the lights didn't just flicker, they went out. Along with the stove. Gas started pouring into the house. Ah, there's the connect. Got it. What a disaster. The gas supply must have been interrupted briefly because the man blew too hard, so the flames went out. I'm afraid I yelled at the fellow. Are you trying to kill us all, I said? So by disconnecting a lamp and blowing into the exposed gas pipe, it's possible to extinguish lamps and stoves connected to the same network of pipes. And then when the gas starts flowing again, it just silently seeps into the room. Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps... Yeah, this is almost certainly the clue that we've been hoping for. Juror number 3, the defense requests that you amend your statement to include that information. Oh, well, if you like. I don't mind.
Well, I do. That's our company's secret method of identifying the rogues that...
Like I said, madam, it's widely known already. Very well, juror number 3. You will amend your statement accordingly. Yes, my lord. Although I'm not really sure what the point of all this is. Blow too hard in a gas pipe, and you extinguish everything in the house, and then you're in real trouble. Okay. So that's something. We pressed her. I might need to press him on this, but I'll come back and do that later. Let's finish with 5 and 6.
Hold it!
You mean it's poisoned? That's right. It happened a tiny few times now. This is most troubling indeed. It's always days like this one when I don't get any wages. I get in at tea time, see? And I see her doing it, my wife. She gets that devilish look on her face, and she slips some white powder into my cup. And you drink it anyway? I was brought up proper, I was. If someone gives you a cuppa, you drink it. And what happened to you? What did it taste like? It was god-awful, believe you me. Salty as hell. You think maybe his wife just meant to put sugar? Am I really reading too much into this?
Then I think perhaps what your wife put in your tea was salt.
No! So, she doesn't even care enough to poison me properly, eh? Unbelievable. Let's move on, please. So he's just an idiot. Got it.
Hold it!
Does that mean if the victim could be shown to have ingested something else, you'd change your leaning? Sorry? Sorry? What's that now? Oh, I was just saying, if the victim did actually eat or drink something else on the night... What's the matter with you? Sorry? I said if nothing else passed the victim's lips that night, there's no other explanation, is there? Haven't you been listening to me at all? I feel there's an English expression about a pot and a kettle that's appropriate here.
Compared to the other jurors who don't even appear to have anything to say about the case at all, it would seem that this elderly gentleman has been listening to the proceedings far more intently.
I suppose. The trouble is...
He has selective hearing?
Exactly, but still, this juror may well be the key to the breakthrough that we so desperately need. Ugh, this is hopeless. There's no way for me to appeal to these people.
I do think that the only way we shall overcome this difficult situation is by exposing the way in which Mr. Shamspeare was really poisoned. We have to prove that it happened some other way, and not via Mr. Natsume's tea.
Yes, I know. The trouble is, I have absolutely no idea how it happened. How it did happen.
Mr. Naruhodo, I wonder if perhaps there's something you might have forgotten.
Oh, like what?
It's important to watch everyone involved and pursue people if they react to something someone else says.
You'd like me to... No. I already got that. I clearly did that right. Once again, Soseki-san's fate isn't... I don't know why I said face. It's not like you have your client's face right here the whole time. Like, you're gonna be okay! No. I remember how it works. No need. Actually, I don't think there's any need. It's vital that we start trying to change these jurors' minds as soon as possible.
Of course, I'm sure you're right. But if you decide you would like your memory refreshed, you need only ask, Mr. Naruhodo.
Okay. So, we've tried pressing everyone. Except for the new one on 3, but I'm not sure we need to, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Hold it!
When you say extinguish everything in the house, do you mean even on different floors? Oh yes, all the floors are connected to the same pipe after all.
That's true of every building. Because gas supply contracts are issued for the whole properties.
Well, I had no idea that it was possible to extinguish gas appliances simply by blowing down the pipe.
It's not something we like to publicize, to be honest. But we have to carry out these investigations, as I'm sure you can appreciate.
Indeed, it has been mentioned on more than one occasion in the papers even. Is that so? It's been mentioned to me too, very recently. An incident involving the gas stove going out inexplicably, almost leading to someone's death.
Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps...
Yeah, it's finally starting to fall into place. The secret link that joins all of these strange occurrences. Alright. Definitely this dude. But I'm not sure who to pit him against. Mana logic, me, and having considered all the evidence. Okay, I don't have any new evidence. I just have this guy saying the pipe thing. You agree that gas is far too expensive. I can understand why. Yeah, gas doesn't come for free. It costs a fortune to deliver it around the city and maintain the pipes. Could be told my teeth. I think it might be this dude. If nothing else passed the victim's lips that night, there's no other explanation, is there? The victim's lips. He was blowing on the pipe. Gas. I'm not sure I'm right. Hold on. I'm going to save it because I'm a save whore. Yes, I know. Blah, 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 blah. Record. Save. This thing. This thing. Alright. I'm gonna try my theory, and I'm gonna get it wrong, and it's gonna be terrible.
Objection!
Or not. Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious. To whose statements do you refer, counsel? Juror number 6. Did you hear what juror number 3 just said? What? Yes, of course. I heard him mumbling about something or other. There is another explanation here, I believe. Something besides Mr. Natsume's tea did, in a manner of speaking, pass the victim's lips on the night in question. What? What explanation? I wonder, did the police check the mouth of the gas pipe feeding the wall light at the scene? To see if there were any traces of poison there? I was curious to see what your floundering would result in this time, but the mouth of a gas pipe? Scotland Yard have enough to do without exploring such irrelevance. What a piece of work is a man! What are you trying to say, Mr. Shamspeare? You feel bad you have to go? Don't. Wait, you feel bad for me or are you feeling unwell? If you're feeling unwell, please go. Go rest. It's okay. Totally fine. Don't worry about me. I will keep doing the things I still do. My lunch was delicious, by the way. No regrets. Good. Good. Absolutely don't regret that, because it sounded great. I hope the boba was delicious, too. I don't know what flavor you got, but pretty much there's a lot of flavors that can go with it, so... But yes, if you have to go, totally cool, Mochi. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you coming by, even though you were sick. So, yeah. Get well soon. Let me know how the caravan redecorating goes, and I will talk to you later. In the meantime, what speakest thou? Prithee, is it not strange and strange? That is what I say to thee, sir. I thought I'd been quite clear, but let me put it another way. The strychnine could have been on the mouth of the gas pipe that feeds the wall lamp in your room. And that is how the poison came to enter your body. Good lord! Are they tasty then, gas pipes? Is that what he's saying?
Or is the gentleman suggesting that the poor man was so desperately hungry he tried to fill his belly with gas? Perhaps no actress would perform a kiss scene with him.
For shame, madam, speaking thy fancy. I assure you, not such a buffoon that I have to kiss pipes.
Objection!
This is no summation examination. This is a farce. The prosecution will not stand for any more of my learned Nipponese friend's conjecture. One of my OZ streamer friends is streaming for the first time in a while. That's cool. Absolutely great. I'm glad you can go visit and say hi for the first time in a long time. Not sick, just tired all the time. Oh, I thought you said you had... Oh, your dad has COVID. Right. For some reason, I thought you also caught it. But no, you're keeping your distance, which is good. It's safe. But I'm sorry you're tired all the time. I definitely get that feeling sometimes, too. But yeah, go say hi to your streamer friend for me, and have a good time. I'll still be here if you get bored. If you ever want to come around again. To begin with, the lamp in the victim's room is high on the wall. In order to have placed his lips to the pipe that feeds it, he would have to be a contortionist. These are empty assertions. There is no possible proof that the man did as you say.
Objection!
And that's where you're wrong. It's true, I have no proof that Mr. Shamspeare put his lips to the pipe. However, I can say with some certainty that on multiple occasions, Mr. Shamspeare has been doing something in front of that lamp on his wall. And I have evidence to prove it. Alright, you've got our attention, lad. I'd like to see how you can be so sure of yourself. So would I! Let's see this evidence, then! Now that I've got the jury's ear, I need to make this opportunity count. This is the proof that, time and time again, Mr. Shamspeare stood in front of his gas lamp. It was this one. Right? Yep, there it is. Hands on the wall, blowing in the pipe. Definitely sus.
Take that!
What the? These are... Wait, what are they called? Yes, skin prints that were found at the scene. Skin prints, Counsel. I've never heard of such things. The Justice Ministry is currently assessing whether or not to permit fingerprints as evidence in court, however.
My lord, this is an exciting new forensic technique developed by the greatest detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. It reveals all the places that Mr. Shamspeare touched in his room.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, that's black magic, isn't it? Well, if anyone could invent something like this, it's that great Sholmes fellow, that's for sure.
Ah, Cree, this month's edition of Engineering Thumbs was quite fascinating. Engineering Thumbs!
I got peach. Peach is a great flavor. I'm a big on mango, although recently I've also been getting boba in iced coffee. Mocha, which is not bad either. Aussie, because you always say, oh, you shorten it from, you take Australia and then shorten it, and then you shorten it again to OZ. Got it. That's why it's confusing. I like just one shortening, but I get it. I'm sorry I got it wrong. Still, go have fun. We found skin prints in many places that you would expect. On the table, on the costumes. However, Mr. Shamspeare also appears to have been touching some very unexpected places in his room. For example, here. Around the hanging picture there, indeed multiple handprints appear to be visible.
Well, I wonder, could he have been appreciating the artwork, perhaps?
At first, my colleagues and I thought the same, however. Imagine standing with your hands where those prints are, and you would find yourself directly in front of... Ah!
I don't believe it. The gas lamp.
Though the reason why isn't immediately obvious, it's clear that Mr. Shamspear has regularly been standing with his hands to the wall in front of that lamp. Rat, what have you been up to, you nut? I'd ask the court to recall juror number 4's earlier statement.
Me? What did I say?
You said that blowing into a gas pipe would make the lights on the entire building flicker. And now, if you'll recall juror number 3's statement... What? Me now? When the gas worker who visited his home blew with too much force into the pipe, it caused all the lights and the gas stove to go out, and gas started leaking into the rooms. Obviously, that incident was an accident. However, the simple fact is, if Mr. Shamspear were to have blown hard into the gas pipe here in his room, he could have extinguished every other light and gas stove in the building at will. Crikey!
Are you suggesting that the man purposefully caused the gas to...
Objection!
Whilst I acknowledge that the prosecution is required to remain silent during a summation examination, I must toast my learned friend's utter disregard for the letter of the law. What is the meaning of this, Lord Van Zooks? This curious photograph, or whatever it is, presented by the defense, the so-called skin prints. Clearly, that cannot be accepted as any form of usable evidence in this case.
But it's an exciting new forensic technique developed by a great detective.
It's nothing. A mere toy developed by an amateur sleuth with too much time on his hands. Ugh. Certainly even research of this nature by the esteemed Mr. Sholmes cannot be recognized by the court as formal evidence.
Hold it!
But,
Please, my lord, if I may.
Miss Susato?
It was not the defense's intention to submit the skin prints as formal evidence. We merely wish to present the results of the great detective's investigation to the scene, as a tool by which to explain a possibility to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. And, if the trial were to come to an end now, we should never learn the truth behind these mysterious handprints that everyone has now seen. I don't believe we can allow that to happen, and I'm sure the jurors would agree.
You're right! Whether those strange handprints are a significant clue or not, it's down to us to decide. Juror number 3.
Oh yes, I do declare the great detective's investigation results sound absolutely fascinating. And I want to hear what that shady actor fellow has to say about those shady handprints.
Bobo! Boom, boom. Alright, making progress, making headway. What's the matter with you two? That was foolhardy. Well, I did say it, didn't I? And I don't like to break a promise. No, wait, you heard his lordship. It's not fair dinkum evidence. And a thump. Thanks, Grandpa. You did decently that time.
Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. If just one more juror changes his or her mind, Mr. Natsume's trial will have to continue.
Thank you, Miss Susato, but I couldn't have done it without you.
Oh no, it was you who identified the clue after all. This is very much your success.
Why, Mr. Shamspear, you seem to be losing your composure.
Just one more juror, Mr. Naruhodo. You can do it!
Very well. Continue, counsel. Okay. Well, not sure who to work on now. Oh, she's still there. So I don't even have the option to like press or pit on the other ones, but like okay, just because his wife puts salt in his tea doesn't mean anything. So it's got to be these two, right? Do I need to press anyone again? Is my question. I'm saving, because I'm going to make a mistake. Feeling it in the back of my ears. Which is where I feel stuff. As well as other places of me. God, these wigs messed up my hair. I looked so good. Alright. Let's press him again. Let's see what happens. All the evidence, you say? That's right. There's no room for doubt. It's all pointing at that Japanese man with the big mustache. Oh. I thought I already did this. Why isn't it letting me skip? But the fence just demonstrated another possible explanation for the events on the night in question. What do you make of that? What, your so-called skin prints? It's an exciting new forensic investigation technique developed by the great detective himself. The numerous handprints on the wall are clearly out of the ordinary. And if Mr. Shamsphere had indeed put his mouth to the gas pipe on the night in question, it can't be denied that there's a possibility that's where the poison was. Well, yes, I won't deny that it's playing on my mind. But as the prosecution rightly says, we should pay no heed to unacceptable forms of evidence. And besides... Yes? Even if the fellow has been up to some mischief with the gas pipe dozens of times before, it doesn't mean he got up to the same shenanigans on the night in question, does it? Oh. But it does. If you can't make your case better than that, I'm afraid I can't change my stance. You do make a very valid point, sir. That's true. Perhaps I was a little hasty. No, wait. Look, you've got your chance here, haven't you? So it's time to prove your theory. If you and your Japanese cohorts can, that is. Just leave our nationality out of this, please. Mr. Naruhodo, if we can't substantiate our position, I'm afraid the jurors that changed their minds before may very well change them back. What can I do? Is there any more proof I can give here? Can I show that Mr. Shamster really did blow down the gas pipe on the night in question? Nope. No evidence, but I do have what it said, supporting testimony. Because Mr. Garadeb did say he saw the flicker. No, in truth I don't have evidence to support my theory. However, there is witness testimony that substantiates it. What's that? Testimony? This is incredible! Whose testimony? Yes, it's all connected. Everything is linked. Everything's linked. A person whose testimony revealed details about the gas in the Garadeb residence that night, namely... Mr. Garadeb.
Take that!
Well, Mr. Foreman, does that convince you? Phew, I don't think he was listening. Rest assured, counsel, I shan't... Oh, man! How did I get that wrong? A witness who spoke about the gas on the night in question. That was exactly... Oh, man. Maybe Matsume. I could have sworn when we talked to the old dude. No. We talked to the old dude, and he was like, yeah, I keep my eye on it, because I'm freaking bored all the time. I have no friends. My wife hate my wife, and she threw a knife at me last night, and I'm just like all upset now. I'm probably inserting a few words there, but, you know. But I guess it might be just Natsume, because Natsume was the one who was saying stuff like, he'd start it, but then it would go out. And he'd have trouble breathing. Alright. Let's try Natsume. Whatever, we saved. It's fine. I guess the problem with Garadeb's is that if he sees it flicker, it could just mean that someone turned it on, so... It's not evidence, but... Natsume's fire going out, his light, his stuff going out, could be evidence, yeah. Boy, I wish it was faster to get to the thing. I mean, clearly I was on the right track, but I should have just done this.
Take that!
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. I get it. I was dumb. Obviously, I'm talking about the defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume himself. The defendant? At the very beginning of the proceedings here in court yesterday, Mr. Natsume said the following. My lodgings! There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings! Even on that fateful night it happened, when I returned from Mr. Shamspeare's room. I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed, but before long, the stove went out, and somebody tried to kill me! On the night in question, the gas in the defendant's room went out. So I asked the court, was that a mere coincidence, or not? Good golly. So that Shamspeare fellow blew air into the gas pipe to make the man's stove go out on purpose? Now hold your horses there. What would he do that for? Mr. Foreman? What is it, man? You cannot allow judgment to be passed while this doubt remains. It's true that I don't have conclusive evidence yet, however, you must surely agree that there is more to this case than meets the eye. Ah. Fair enough. Like I said at the outset, I'm a man of logic first and foremost. Kathunk. That's 4 jurors leaning towards not guilty, my lord. We've overturned the decision. Therefore, the defense calls for the trial to continue. As the defense has rightfully indicated, the summation examination is concluded with a majority of jurors altering their decisions. 2 jury members now call guilty. 4 now call not guilty. Therefore, the jury's opinion is conflicted, and in accordance with the law of this land, I hereby order the continuation of this trial. Mr. William Shamspeare.
My lord, how can thy humble Shamspeare serve thee?
What say you in response to the various revelations made during the summation examination?
So God mend me, I do solemnly swear. I recall aught of either the lamp or the pipe.
But your handprints have made a tiny mess all over the wall there. How do you explain that, eh? I am done with this. The dignity of this great courtroom has been sullied enough already. Juror number 5. Who, me? As I went to some pains to point out already, a print from the self-professed detective's toy has no place in a British court of law. As such, whether or not this man did indeed stand before the gas lamp with his hands against the wall remains, at this time, unestablished conjecture. You would all do well to remember that.
Ah!
Objection!
But the prosecution must concede that it would be extremely simple to verify. Just order the mouth of the gas pipe feeding that lamp in Mr. Shamspeare's room to be examined. There are traces of poison there.
Objection!
What appears to be extremely simple is my Nipponese friend's mind. You will recall that in order to check for the presence of poison in the tea, some remnants of tea were required. Yes. Therefore, it shouldn't be beyond your wit to imagine that even if poison were to have been spread on the pipe, it would have completely evaporated by now, making any analysis impossible. I didn't think of that. In any case, counsel, I fail to see what could possibly have motivated the man to do as you describe. Why on earth would this fellow have wanted to blow air into the gas pipework where he lived? There's only one possibility that I can think of, and that is to use the leaking gas to commit murder. Order, order! Counsel! Precisely whose life do you propose this man was plotting to end? The answer couldn't be simpler, now that we've unraveled the mystery thus far. Mr. Shampspeare wanted to end the life of Mr. Natsume.
Take that!
If a gas lamp were to go out, it would be noticed immediately, of course. But a gas stove, on the other hand, could be silently extinguished by the killer without anyone noticing. I live around those parts myself, so I know what it's like. I can tell you, trying to sleep without that stove lit is pretty much suicide. You'd freeze to death in no time. Mr. Garadeb, the landlord, has a large fireplace in his part of the residence on the top floor. In other words, it wasn't the landlord, but a fellow lodger whose life Mr. Shampspeare was trying to end. Outrageous! I'm talking, of course, about the defendant. Mr. Natsume isn't the villain in this case. He's the victim this man was trying to murder. Good gracious!
Objection!
The accused is actually the aggrieved. Interesting. However, the fundamental facts of the case remain unchanged. Namely, that the accused is the aggressor here. What? How can you still claim that? Let us indulge your fancies for a moment, and assume that there was indeed poison on the mouth of the gas pipe. The question that then arises is who put it there? Who did put it there? The only logical conclusion is that the person responsible was aware of this man's trickery with the gas supply and his intent to kill. Yes, that would indeed seem logical. If the assailant were unaware, how would he or she have known to lace the end of the gas pipe with poison? So now we must ask, how could anyone have known of Mr. Shampspeare's murderous designs? Ah, you mean to suggest... Naturally, the sole possible answer to that question couldn't be more obvious. Only the man whose life was being threatened could possibly have known. What? In other words, the person who put the poison on the gas pipe in what was a clear retaliatory attack. Wow, that one, I struggled through that one really hard. Retaliatory attack. That's an interesting phrase, too. In a clear retaliatory attack. Can only have been the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Whatever Mr. William Shampspeare may or may not have contrived to do, he was nevertheless the victim of a potentially lethal poison attack. And the only person who could possibly have perpetrated that attack is the accused, Mr. Natsume. The defense counsel's theorizing has failed to avert suspicion from the accused. Far from it. In fact, now that a clear motive for the poisoning has been successfully established, that suspicion is greater than ever. Would you not agree, my Nipponese friend? No. I mean, yeah, it gives motive, but like, fucking... I don't think Mr. Natsume knew anything about those pipes, honestly. How did he manage to turn that around on me so rapidly?
Mr. Naruhodo, you must respond. Otherwise, the members of the jury may very well change their leanings against us again. And this may be our last chance to gain the advantage.
What advantage?
Well, it would seem that somebody put poison in the gas pipe in Mr. Shampspeare's room. So we must name that person now and absolve Mr. Natsume of guilt.
You mean, name the true culprit?
I know it might sound impossible, but if we fail to do that, I have no doubt that Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed once and for all.
As it happens, one possible culprit does come to mind. The evidence, the poison, it's all pointing to a particular person now. The prosecution calls for the jury to consider their leanings again. I trust you'll make the correct choice this time, Mr. Foreman. What? Oh, don't you worry. We know exactly what... There is one other person who I believe could have been involved in all of this. The true culprit of this crime.
The true culprit?
A term found only in second-rate novels featuring third-rate great detectives, my Nipponese friend. But why not? This farce has gone on for so long already, I see no reason to cut it short before its disappointing climax. Thank you. Tell us, my learned Nipponese friend, what is your latest theory? Who is the so-called true culprit of this crime? I know who I want to pick, but I don't feel good about it. Oh, man. Alright, we're gonna give it a shot anyway. Oh. So, what I'm thinking is... What's-her-face tried to meet up with Shamspear because of the letter. But, unfortunately, she got stabbed, went comatose, and had to go to the hospital. So she wasn't really able to meet up until later. Like, after the trial. And this murder happened the night after the trial. I think she heard about Duncan's murder and thought he would have something to do with it. Didn't tell anyone about it, but he died as a result of gas poisoning, and I think she must have figured out Shamspear was doing it because Natsume was also being killed that way. I don't know, that's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong. I could be miles wrong, but this is the only thing I can think of. Alright, give me the penalty.
Take that!
The music didn't stop, so I think I'm wrong. The name of the person responsible for the poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspear is, I believe, Miss Olive Green.
Miss Olive Green. Miss Olive Green. I do feel as though I've heard that name in the recent past, Counsel. But I don't recall where.
Miss Olive Green? The woman from 6 days ago? The victim in the recent case of stabbing on Briar Road. An incident for which Mr. Natsume was arrested, I hasten to add.
Oh, of course, yes, Miss Green. She was left comatose for some 3 days, I believe, but I hear she regained consciousness 2 days ago.
And I hardly need remind the court Mr. Shamspear's poisoning took place 3 days ago. Oh, was that 3 days ago? I thought it was like 2 days ago, or 1 day ago. Given that the woman was lying comatose in a hospital bed at the time, she appears to have a rather fine alibi. True. On the night that the incident occurred, Miss Green was in the hospital, unconscious. So on the face of it, it would seem that she couldn't possibly be responsible, but still. My colleagues and I visited Miss Green in hospital yesterday. Wow, there's a word missing there. In the hospital yesterday. And we found her to be in possession of a bottle of poison.
Good gracious, she had poison?
And there is another fact that links Miss Green to this case as well. The defense requests that she be brought to the witness stand in order to explain the details to the court.
Tell me, Mr. Shamspear.
My lord, pray what be thy bidding?
Are you acquainted with Miss Green?
Eh? No, never heard of her. Judging by the look on Mr. Shamspear's face, I think perhaps he genuinely doesn't know her. At least, not by name. As the voice of Her Majesty's prosecution here, I adhere to my word. We will see my learned Nipponese friends fast through to its conclusion. I appreciate that. The prosecution requests a short recess, my lord, in order to subpoena the witness and bring her here.
Yes, Miss Olive Green.
Indeed, my lord. 1 hour should be sufficient. Very well, I grant the request. Excellent, I hope. The defense has made a most extraordinary accusation, I must say. But at the present time, I feel the prosecution's argument remains largely uncontested. Accordingly, I am afraid the defendant and his culpability remain the sole subject of this court's attention. Thank you, counsels. We reconvene in 1 hour. Court is adjourned. Wabam! Smack down the hammer of justice. Let's go. Yeah, save it. And then we got... I'm going to go for at least another 2 hours. Because I don't have to go to bed until midnight. Yay. Yay. My hair is a mess, though. Jesus, that wig. Back. Let's see what else is going on in the antechamber. 23rd February, 11:32 a.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Click. Joyful, jubilant, jumping jacks!
Oh, Mr. Natsume, I'm so pleased for you.
Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire and non-locum judicial assistant Miss Mikatoba Esquires. Now, finally, at long last, there can be proof. Proof that I'm innocent and proof that my tea is innocent. Ah, good morning, my dear fellows. Ah, Herlock Sholmes. May you drink my tepid tea and fall forever silent. I thought the tea was innocent, though.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you came. How wonderful.
Please, save your derision. I know what you're all thinking. Good morning, he says, when it's very nearly time for luncheon. Your scorn is written clearly across your faces. Nobody said or thought anything of the sort. The truth is, I was determined that today would be the day. As sleep seduced me last night, I thought, tomorrow, for once, I shall not oversleep. I'll rise early and be present in court to support my companions. Such spirited determination has a beauty all of its own, does it not?
Oh, yes.
And then I began to muse on the subject. Why do people oversleep, I queried. Why, time after time, do they make the same foolish blunder? And the answer came to me at once. It's so delightfully simple. People oversleep because they sleep. Well, is that not an astute insight into the matter?
Oh, yes.
Upon which realization, I attempted an experiment. I didn't sleep a wink all night. And the results? By first light, I was exhausted and began to be assailed by fits of drowsiness. Shocking. And so the conclusion of last night's experiment is this. A good night's sleep is quite simply essential. Yes, I think most of us probably knew that already. What other presuppose I prove by experimentation? That, my dear fellow, is the scientific method. Ah, yes, and one more thing. Do you remember this?
Ah!
Yes, of course, it's the poison that Miss Green was about to drink at the hospital yesterday. Oh, you didn't manage to... It was a laborious task, as the bottle was nearly empty, but such inconveniences do not hinder Sholmes. I managed to confirm that it contained strychnine. So I was right. Perhaps, though of course such circumstantial evidence doesn't prove Miss Green's guilt. I shall leave the bottle in your care now, but licking the inside of the neck is not recommended. Bottle of poison has been entered into the court record. Alright. Ah, could I have a word? I gotta do that for question marks, because I don't know whose voice to use when that happens. Ah, it's Gregson. Good to see you, Gregson. Hold on, I need to check the bottle. Check the bottle. Alright, check the bottle, check the bottle. Check the bottle. So this is the poison we've been hearing so much about. Strychnine. There are a few remnants on the bottom of the bottle here. Look.
You mustn't be tempted to try it.
Of course not, as long as we don't lose this trial.
No, even if we lose the trial. No, we mustn't lose the trial in the first place, Mr. Naruhodo.
Make your mind up, Susato-san. Is there nothing in here? It's just a bottle. Oh, whoa. Oh, I thought I saw, like, makeup or something on the thing. Well, okay. Not much on this. Got it. Gregson, how good of you to come. Forget it. Excuse me. Wait a minute, Inspector. I, don't wish to make a nuisance of myself. From the look on your face, I'd say it's someone else who you think is making a nuisance of himself. My dear Inspector, please speak freely. Pretend that I'm not here. Believe me, if I could do that, life would be a whole lot simpler for me. Do you have the results, Inspector, of the investigation of Mr. Shamspeare's room? Not yet. Shouldn't be long now, though. No, I'm here about something else. That dead convict, actually. Oh, you mean the man from this newspaper article we discovered yesterday in Mr. Shamspeare's room? Wow, that was a real run-on sentence. Holy crap. I thought it was going to end so much sooner, so my air in my lungs just fucking disappeared. A man by the name of... yes, Selden. I went through the archives at the yard and dug out the fellow's file. There's something in there that... well, it caught my eye. Something caught your eye? What, Inspector? What? I've copied out the relevant parts for you, so you can read it for yourselves. Thank you. The capital offenders file has been entered into the court record. Okay. Examine. Let's look at the file. Alright. Investigative findings related to Selden. 18 counts of burglary, 6 counts of suspected murder. Died of natural causes whilst in prison, his final moments witnessed only by his cellmate. The estimated 1,000 pounds worth of loot he stole remains uncovered. Condemned criminal dies of natural causes in prison. Manchester Strangeways Prison announced the death of convicted murderer and burglar Selden by natural causes in the early hours this morning. He had been suffering with fever since the end of October. Alerted by the shouts of his fellow cellmate, medical staff arrived to find him already dead before his capital punishment could be carried out. Who was his cellmate? His cellmate sounds important. Was it Mr. Shamspeare? Willing to bet it was Shamspeare. These documents include the details that were in the newspaper cutting we found in Mr. Shamspeare's room. I'll rearrange everything in the court record so we don't have duplicate information. Why are you giving us a copy of this important file, though? Well, you're the ones who turned up the clue in the first place, aren't you? I'm just making sure things get handled in the proper fashion. Oh, Scotland Yard's workings are so wonderful. Indeed, my dear fellows, and the inspector here is a shining diamond in its crown. A shining diamond in the rough, maybe. Look, I just don't want to be beholden to a lawyer, that's all. Bye, Gregson. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court proceedings are about to resume. Make your way into the courtroom at once. Well, I shall leave you then. I'll be listening with interest from the public gallery. Not nodding off at all, certainly not. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. I'm rather tired of seeing Mr. Mustache in floods of tears personally, so the best of luck to you. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Yes, Mr. Natsume? It's time, isn't it? Yes, this is it. Miss Olive Green and Mr. William Shamspeare. This is going to be the final battle. You can see my mouse. I won't really have saved Soseki-san until I've exposed the whole truth of everything that's been going on. But it's all coming to a head now. You can do it, Ryunosuke. You have to. You've got to. You've got to do it. 23rd February, 12:30 p.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again now. Before the recess, we heard a most startling accusation from the defense. Namely, that the victim of the case we heard here only a few days ago is the true perpetrator of this incident. A reckless, rash, and a prejudiced charge of wrongdoing, in my opinion, my lord. However, the prosecution has tried to extend every courtesy to this amateur newcomer from dubious eastern shores. Thank you for that backhanded consideration. A rather cold assessment from the honourable British prosecutor, I must say. So, Lord Van Zieks, is the new witness present and ready to take the stand?
Ready and waiting in the witness's antechamber, my lord.
Very well. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in.
Witnesses? Both of them? Oh, we're doing it both of them? We're doing it both of them. Well, this is going to be rough on the vocal cords that are already hurting. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court, please. William Shamspeare, my liege. For mine occupation, I can say only that I be a tragic victim to be pitied. Currently unemployed, in other words.
I'm Olive Green! I'm a fledgling artist! Well, no. Not a fledgling, really. A hopeless failure who's too weak-spirited to admit she has no talent, I suppose.
Also currently unemployed, in other words. What a coterie.
Mr. Shamspeare.
My lord, I am thy humble servant.
I'm afraid that you are no longer merely the victim in this affair. The possibility has been raised that you are in fact the assailant intent on taking the life of your fellow lodger. The part you have played in this whole business will be thoroughly scrutinized, I assure you.
I would for naught else, my lord.
And Miss Green,
Yes!
you are aware of the reason you have been summoned to this courtroom today, I presume?
Yes, the officer did explain.
That's an arrow. He said I poisoned this ridiculous buffoon. And, do you accept the charge, Miss Green?
I don't know anything about any poisoning.
And, I don't know anything about this man. Come, lady. Die to live. Verily, I know not thy prickly pea-pigmented personage.
Very well. Let us proceed with the matter at hand. That being, to ascertain whether or not Miss Green has any involvement in this affair.
It's all very strange indeed. Why would you suspect me? I barely ever go to the East End anyway. It so happens that I passed by that neighborhood 6 days ago, that's all. And on the night in question...
Oh, whoops.
And on the night that this man was poisoned, I was still in hospital fighting for my life.
Yes, having been unfortunately caught up in the incident on the street outside the Garrideb household. Incident that rendered you unconscious for some 3 days.
I was struck in the middle of my back by a knife through no fault of my own, and now I'm under suspicion? What other irrelevant things might I be suspected of? It's all very disturbing.
Your energies may be better spent worrying about random knife attacks, I feel, Miss Green.
At this point in time, all that appears to connect you with Mr. Shamspeare's lodgings is the Briar Road incident of 6 days ago. That's why we would like you to testify formally now about exactly what happened.
Oh no! The incident 6 days ago? You mean you want me to relive that awful incident?
Accident? I saw that. It was accident. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, yes. Please tell the court what happened that day. And of course, we will be interested to hear from you about your movements that day too, Mr. Shamspeare.
Yeah? But, what happened 6 days ago has nothing to do with me being poisoned.
Let us proceed, then. The witnesses will present their formal testimony to the court on the subject of the incident that took place on Briar Road the evening of the 17th of February.
Witness testimony, the evening of 17th February.
It was 6 days ago at about 5 p.m. I was walking along in the snow when I was suddenly stabbed in the back. Coincidentally, it happened to be just outside the house where the men in this case have their lodgings.
I was at the tavern on the eve of which thou speakest, for I had bespoke my supper.
It was the first time I'd been in the area. I had a little matter to attend to, that's all. Anyway, I was admitted straight to the hospital, so I knew...
They keep leaving out the in the hospital.
I was admitted straight to hospital, so I knew nothing about all this business.
We're gonna press them so hard.
Yes, a second incident inside a week that at what I believe to be aptly described as the haunted lodgings. One can only presume this is a most unfortunate coincidence. Meanwhile, you say you were not in your room, Mr. Shamspear. 'Twas the following morn when I did awaken that I learned of the dire events. Mary, what a commotion did the officers of the law make on the floor above mine! When Soseki-san was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. As suspected, there is nothing connecting these two witnesses but happenstance. It's true, it does seem as though they're unrelated at first glance, but I'm not so sure. There's something lurking in the shadows here. I feel certain of it. And this is my one and only chance to expose it. Giggity. Counsel, you may now cross-examine these two witnesses if you wish. Yes, my lord. Cross-examination. The evening of the 17th February. Alright. I know. It was 6 days ago. And you were walking along. Blah, blah, blah. Hold it. Tell me more. Hold up. Wait a minute. Welcome back, Mochi. How was your friend? How was his stream? Or her stream? Or their stream? Because we don't discriminate. I'm well acquainted with the case. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
It was awful. I still can't believe I was unconscious for so long. And I woke up to find that the case had been solved and the culprit arrested.
Yes, the incident has been resolved already. Perhaps it would help you to consider it a bad dream that ended with your awakening, and should now be forgotten.
Yes, I suppose so. Thank you.
Before you put it completely behind you, Miss Green, I need you to remember the details one last time. You must tell the court exactly what happened that day for us to arrive at the truth about this new case.
The trouble is, there's nothing to tell, really. I was just walking along the pavement.
Coincidentally, it happened just outside the house. Blah, 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 blah. I hate saving money and not having Prime. Why? What'd you do? Did you order something and you can't get it 2-day delivery real fast? I'm sorry. I feel for you though. I definitely like it. Like Amazon Prime and the 2-day shipping really spoils the crap out of you.
Hold it!
What were you doing there that day though?
What do you mean?
The art school you attend, what's it called?
Yes, it's the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts.
According to Mr. Sholmes, that's just in the vicinity of Brixton Road, which is some 10 stops away from the scene on the Underground. I believe you mentioned before that you also live on Brixton Road, isn't that right? No, I have to deal with ads. Oh. Well, I can understand that struggle too. 'Cause, yeah, ads are unfortunate, but like, I just get more frustrated if there's something I need like now, and I gotta wait a couple days to get it. But ads are still frustrating, so I get you. Absolutely. So why then would you have been walking along Briar Road in the middle of the East End?
Well, it's because, oh yes, of course. I thought it might make a nice picture.
The witness is a student of art. City-dwelling artists can't all paint grand urban vistas.
That's right. I happen to like the crumbling look of that part of town.
Perhaps quaint would have been a less grating term. The point is, she's definitely hiding something.
Yes, it seems she's not going to be forthcoming with the truth.
If she's trying to hide why she was there that evening, it must mean there's a reason for her not wanting us to know. That's the key to this. And you, Mr. Shamspear, on the evening of the incident 6 days ago, did you tell the court what exactly you were doing? 'Twould be my pleasure, sire. I was at the tavern on the eve which thou speakest, for I had bespoke my supper.
Hold it!
A tavern, you say? Which one? 'Twas the Slug and Salad where I did tarry. 'Tis a jewel in the East End. And a little unexpected, I feel. What do you mean, Lord Van Zeeks? The Slug and Salad offers unusually fine dining, For the locality, at least. Not an establishment you'd expect to be patronized by a man with not even a crumb of bread in his room.
Huh. It's true, the menu lists premium crusts of bread and glasses of water in different levels of cloudiness.
I would have expected Grub's grubbery in the local vicinity to be more appropriate for your means. Watery soup and mushy peas, or rather, soupy water and pea-like mush. All equally appetizing.
I just wanted to try some water in a different pub for once. What's wrong with that?
How different can water really be?
Or perhaps there's a more plausible explanation. A specific reason why he had to go to that particular establishment.
Agreed. The fact that on that day of all days, he dined at a place he wouldn't normally, it does stand out. So Mr. Shamspeare's own actions on the day of the incident 6 days ago were slightly suspicious. I wonder if we have some evidence that can explain those actions. I like how it says not at the moment because it makes me think I'm going to have it later. God damn. I don't mind having to wait. Nothing I order online is urgent unless it's a present. That's fair. Usually I don't order stuff, though, unless it's like I use a certain kind of toothpaste that most stores don't carry, just because I don't like my reaction to, like, the usual brands like Crest or Colgate or whatever. So usually it's like, oh, I need those, like, today so I can brush my teeth or something, but usually outside of, like, health-related stuff like that, it's not urgent. So I can agree with that. Court record, court record, court record. I know that this is going to be part of this. Oh, wait. I don't have the evidence at the moment. It's the letter. I know it's the letter. It's okay, I can come back if I go through the whole thing. I wish we did, but sadly I can't think of anything at the moment.
If we find a clue that could explain why Mr. Shamsphere went there, we must present it to the court.
Yes, absolutely. If that is all on this matter, counsel, I would ask Miss Green to reiterate her next statement. First time I've been in the area, I had little matter to attend to, that's all. Please, elaborate. I'd love to hear. What little matter, Miss Green? Please elaborate. Oh, wow. Just steal my words from me.
It was nothing, really. It's not worth mentioning.
If you remember, you mentioned it to us yesterday at the hospital.
Ah!
It was related to the card you were holding. Miss Green! What was that? She clearly just hid something behind her back. Indeed she did, and I read it. From memory, I believe the card contained a note that read, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross.
What does that matter? This has nothing to do with Duncan.
You want to go ahead and tell me what's on your mind?
Excuse me.
Mr. Shamsphere, do you have something to share with the court?
To be or not to be? That is the question. Ah, pray forgive me. The great bard's word springeth from within me with ne'er a thought.
Don't tell me. It's because you're possessed by Shakespeare's spirit, right? Hearing Miss Green's words a moment ago seemed to make you think of something. Something of relevance, perhaps?
Well, nay, sire, nay. 'Twas nothing at all.
Presumably you know the name, though. Mr. Duncan Ross, I mean? After all, you were both lodgers in the same house.
I would it were so, but sadly nay. Lodging be a lonely occupation, sire. My lodging fellows be rarely known to me.
So you haven't heard of him, even though he passed away in the room just one floor above yours? Miss Green,
Me, my lord?
Well, we got that one wrong.
Me, my lord? Have I done something wrong?
The card that was mentioned before, containing the note. Do you have it upon your person?
I do, yes, but I don't need it anymore. In fact, I should throw it away, really.
Before you dispose of it, the court will take it as evidence, please. There's the card we're looking for, right frickin' there. I sent you my caravan design on Snap because I don't have Nitro for you to have a look after stream. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I have many methods of which people to get in touch with. It's okay. Miss Green's card has been entered into the work. Okay, let's look at it. Of course, that's what links Mr. Shamspear and Miss Green. Hells yeah. Right, alright. This is the letter. The envelope has been ripped open rather carelessly, hasn't it? Miss Green strikes me as the type to open correspondence more neatly than that. Ah. What is it? The way the envelope is torn, I'm almost sure I've seen that exact same shape somewhere else.
Oh, you don't mean... Were you thinking of this piece of evidence, Mr. Naruhodo?
Exactly, that's it. Try to match them up. Dun dun dun!
They go together perfectly. This torn-off end of the envelope clearly belongs with this card.
There we go, there we go. There we go. That's the kind of science I'm talking about. Is there nothing else to this? No, it's just the... Alright, perfect. That's all we needed. It's Duncan Ross. Now, continue with your testimony, please, Miss Green. Wait, did it tell me what was on the thing? Alright, let's go back to this.
Hold it!
Okay, skip, 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 skip. I'm going to save real quick, because I'm a save whore. And then we're going to present that evidence and just rub it in their stupid faces. Because my throat's getting sore and I got to end this soon. But we got to present. Mr. Shamspear.
Yes, sire?
On the day in question, is it not the case that you visited the Slug and Salad, a place you don't normally patronize, for a very particular reason?
I don't know what you're talking about. Pray, if thou hast some purpose, speakst.
Very well, I will present the court with evidence. Evidence that explains why you had to be at the Slug and Salad that day, namely...
Take that!
Oh, the music didn't stop. What the fuck? Oh, it did stop. Boy, the game's tricking me now. This is not fair. I believe this card reveals the answer. Good lord, Miss Green's card, you mean? That's right, my lord. It reads... I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. Mr. Shamspear, your actions on the afternoon of Miss Green's stabbing are exactly as described in this note. Personally, I find it hard to believe that's a coincidence. Don't you, Mr. Shamspear?
Well... Excuse me, can I say something?
Yes, Miss Green.
That card was delivered to me. It doesn't have anything to do with this odd man, does it?
Well, you'd think so, yes, but it's hard to believe it's merely...
My lord, may I?
May you what, Miss Green?
I'd like to make something very clear about that card.
Very well, then. You may amend your testimony to include details about the peculiar note. This note was delivered to me at my address. It's nothing to do with the odd man next... Okay, well, let's press that a bit, shall we? I think you said that you received it the day before the incident, didn't you?
Yes, that's right.
There appears to be no indication of the sender's name or address on the envelope.
It was in my letterbox, and that's all I know, I'm afraid. I have no idea who sent it.
I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Who is this Duncan Ross, please?
A friend of mine. He attended the same art school as I do. He passed away in a tragic accident a month ago now, though. I wasn't sure what to make of that note, to be honest, but in the end, I decided to go.
So you found out what the information was?
Of course I didn't. You're not thinking straight.
Whilst on her way there, she was stabbed in the back, as my learned friend hopefully remembers. Yes, of course. She never made it to the meeting.
Oh, Mr. Naruhodo, you pursued Mr. Shamspear wonderfully there.
It's worked out well, hasn't it? We have a new clue at last. Alright, now I need to pull off a really insightful objection somewhere.
Well, as you've managed to expose this promising new angle, I wonder if you should perhaps try to develop that.
Yes, of course. And yelling out objections isn't necessarily the best way to do that, I suppose. Alright, so it's got to be something in that new testimony, right? Oh, right, nothing to do with him. I can present this.
Objection!
The day before the incident, exactly 1 week ago now, this note was delivered to your address. And upon carrying out the instructions in the note, you found yourself in hospital. In the hospital. Am I just like... I'm not gonna think to it. It's probably translation things, obviously.
Yes, it did. It's terrible. Everything that's happened to me.
Yes, it is terrible. If it's all true, that is.
What do you mean?
Miss Green, have a look at this, please. It's the torn off end of an envelope.
Oh, is it?
And it so happens that it fits together perfectly with the envelope of the note you received.
Where did you find that?
In Mr. Shamspear's room.
Eh? In my room?
Mr. Shamspear, do you perhaps remember this note from somewhere?
Well...
Your actions that afternoon followed the instructions in the note to the letter. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. And so, that's exactly where you went. Let me ask you again, Mr. Shamspear. You already knew about this note, didn't you? And you, Miss Green.
What did I do?
As this torn-off end of the envelope proves, the note was originally in Mr. Shamspear's room. So how is it that it came to be in your possession?
I don't have the first idea. I'm just a fledgling artist after all.
There is only one explanation. You broke into Mr. Shamspear's room and stole it. I'm gonna be honest. She's kind of adorable for someone who's this annoying. You did what? Sorry, thou hast what? Oh my god. He's breaking character, this is great. You broke? I mean, thou weren't in my room? What on earth do you want with me? It would seem that both witnesses need to testify again. Miss Green.
Yes?
Whilst you have the cult's sympathy, I'm sure, for the suffering you have endured in recent events, anyone found to be giving false testimony in a court of law will be duly punished. Please bear that in mind.
Yes, I know.
Very well then, witnesses. You will give formal testimony again now. On the subject of this curious anomaly regarding the note Miss Green claims to have received. Damn, we getting into the thick of the matter. Witness testimony, the anomaly of the note. The beat in these are good.
I do remember now. 'Twas a week ago, peradventure, that note was delivered unto me. On the day writ therein, I did tarry a long hour at the Slug and Salad, yet nobody came. Thereafter, on the evening I shared the company of the Japanese fellow, I did see the note had vanished.
I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I?
Dun, dun, dun.
I can point out the villain here, and as for that torn-off piece of the envelope, I don't know anything about it.
Boy, they just ready to sell each other out. You now claim to have received this letter, do you, Mr. Shamspeare?
Faith, 'tis so, my lord. And I would swear to have it set upon the table in my humble lodgings. Yet, 'tis clear to me now that since I returned from the tavern that night, I have not laid eyes upon it.
Well, that being the case, young lady, it would appear that your testimony was...
A lie? Is that what you think? How unfair of you to think I'm the one lying.
I beg your pardon?
I'm just a fledgling artist, as I said, and fledgling artists don't lie. That note was delivered to me at my address, besides. We all know who the liar around here is.
If that's true, Miss Green, how do you explain the facts? This part of the envelope was, without question, found in Mr. Shamspeare's room.
I don't see why I should explain.
Sorry?
I'm a fledgling artist. My job here is just to say what happened, that's all. It's your job to give the explanations and the proofs. You, the fledgling lawyer.
The fledgling will do his best.
Evidently, my learned friend's cross-examination is our only hope of learning the truth.
Well, counsel? I'm ready, my lord. Very well, then. The defense will now proceed with the cross-examination of the witnesses.
Miss Green clearly did break into Mr. Shamspeare's room. There can be no question of that. And that's how she acquired the note.
Yes, two facts that are starting to lead me to a possible explanation for all of this. It's not a pretty one. Cross-examination, the anomaly of the note. Alright. Can you shed any light on the contents of the note at all?
Nay, sire, 'tis as strange to me as a foreign tongue. Even with a knowledge of literature as great as mine own, verily, 'tis impenetrable.
Mr. Duncan Ross had lodgings in the same household as you. In effect, he was your neighbor, so surely you knew him, didn't you?
Alack, if the choice is betwixt I knew him and I knew him not, then 'tis with foreboding that I be forced to declare we were by some measure small acquaint—
I can't talk, this guy's voice is hurting me. Anyway, let's get back to this.
We're by some small measure acquainted.
Despite your claims, though, you followed the note's instructions and went to the Slug and Salad. Presumably that was nothing to do with your knowledge of literature?
Marry, naught will have the better of me, sire, save for the lure of curiosity. So 'tis true, I was compelled by mine own eager heart to betake myself to the tavern.
Hello. Norman Fox Lee, hey, how you doing? Welcome on in. Thank you so much for the raid. I really appreciate it. Let me get you a quick shout out. Shout out for Norman. How you doing, sir? What were you playing? Oh, same game. Great Ace Attorney. Very awesome. I'm not sure how... Are you still... Oh, well, it's 2 games in 1. I'm sure you know that. I'm on the second one. I don't know which part you're on, though. So if you're still on the first one, just a quick spoiler alert to anyone who is watching who may not be this far yet, but... Oh, you're still... Well, I should have asked you. I'm sorry, Mochi, but I thought you were probably resting or on your phone. It's okay. But how are you enjoying the Great Ace Attorney so far? Are you having a good time with it? How far have you gotten? Just finished DLC of the first game, and I am not sure if they added second game DLCs in the game. Well, congratulations on finishing the first game's DLC. I don't know if I got the DLC. I don't think I did. I may have to go back and do that, though. As expected, the game is too easy. Yeah, it certainly can be at times. I know that this one here hasn't exactly been super challenging, but the diverse cast of characters has certainly been putting a toll on my vocal cords, so... That's all I can really say to that part, but still enjoying it, because, you know, it's just another Ace Attorney game, and it's been a long time since we've gotten a new one, so it's scratching that itch, you know? But congratulations on you know, finishing up the first one in the DLC. When do you plan on starting the second one? It took me like I put like a year before the first and second one, so I had to remember a lot of like how the first one ended, but they're useful mod stuff. Thank you, Mochi. Appreciate it. DLC from 3DS are in special content escapades. Okay, I don't think I have that special content. Like, that option never came up for me, so maybe I just didn't... Is it on the Steam store? Hold on, now I'm freaking curious. Store page. Did I just, like, miss it? Is that it? The $20 DLC? Oh, that's a soundtrack. No, I must have just... Maybe I'm fucking blind. Whatever. No! Wait! No! Oh, I didn't get to finish that. What did you say? What did you say?
Yet in the end, my curiosity was not sated.
I have several requests before it, so second maybe at the end of next week. I know that feeling. I have a bunch of requests on my backlog, but it just felt like a Great Ace Attorney kind of day, so I just went with this one. It is in the title screen for me before selecting the game. Okay. Alright, I'll definitely have to check that out then when I start this back up next time, because if I missed it, it might explain why some... I don't know. Maybe it's, because there were some questions I had, like, at the end of the first game that they still haven't answered yet in the second, but maybe it was in the DLC, so I could have just missed it. I don't know. I believe that, though. Are you a big fan of, like, all the other Ace Attorney games? I would assume so if you're playing something like Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. It's a little more obscure, so... I just pushed... And I pushed that one, so I gotta push this one. So even after waiting for an hour, nobody appeared?
Well, yes, sire, 'tis as thou say'st.
Really? You paused for a moment before you answered.
In truth, when thou asked whether nobody appeared, I did suddenly recall.
Really? Do you mean to tell the court that somebody did appear after all?
I was not alone that night at the Slug and Salad, my lord. No, 'tis returning to me now. I did treat my lips to almost clear water, and mine innards to a premium crust of bread. And all around me danced a great many companions.
What do you mean?
Flies, sire, flies.
Good lord.
In the name of Beelzebub, what were they? Fairies, perchance, from a midsummer night's dream, come to taunt me?
I think they were just flies.
I can't help thinking that the flies ought to choose something more wholesome to buzz around. Is that wrong of me?
Yes, very wrong of you, Susato. Bad girl. DLC for 3DS, but it is part of Chronicles here. Okay. It's just 8 short stories for 2 hours long. Oh, I do recall that. You're right. I am recalling seeing that option. I just didn't do it because it did say it was like short stories as opposed to like full chapters of like an Ace Attorney game, you know? That makes sense. I played so far only first 2 games myself on DS. Okay. I would prefer to play original GBA games if they were translated. Was that the first one they came on? I can't recall the first console they were on, because I played on the DS as well. That was the first one I played, the first 3 Phoenix Wrights. And then I kind of, like, went off from there, but... is there a reason you prefer, like, the Game Boy Advanced ones as opposed to, like, the DS? If they were translated. I don't think they were. That's unfortunate, though, yeah. More Japanese games need to be translated, I think. Thereafter, on the evening, I showed the company the Japanese fellow did see the note of advantage. When exactly did you notice it had gone missing? Such idle thoughts ne'er occupy the mind. I am busied with greater ideas. In other words, you didn't notice. Several days passed between your outing to the tavern and Mr. Natsume's visit to your room. Yes, it would appear that the note disappeared sometime in that interval. Such idle thoughts ne'er occupy my mind. I am busied with greater ideas. And yet during that time, Miss Green was comatose in hospital, was she not? Clearly, then, she could not have been stealing things from Mr. Shamsphere's room.
Damn it, Allegory.
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 God damn it, Allegory.
Damn it, Allegory.
God damn it, Allegory.
Norman, thank you so much for the follow, sir. God, I every time I hear that soundbite, I just have to stop and appreciate the fact that I have lots of friends that like to yell at me. But thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it. I'll have to come check out your stream after I'm done here. I just always play on game consoles where it was released first. Alright. That is respectable. I get that. Sometimes it's hard to beat the... Sorry, it's hot in my room, so I'm like sweating into my eyes. But yes, sometimes it's hard to beat that original first release feeling. Absolutely, I get it. Like classic Resident Evil 2 on a PlayStation 1. Oof. That strikes a sweet spot for me personally, but I get it. I can relate. Good man. Or woman, sorry. Or they. I don't like to assume either, so
Ah, yes, of course. It's all some sort of misunderstanding, isn't it, Mr. Prosecutor, sir?
you have so far failed to give a satisfactory explanation as to how you came by the note.
Ah!
I am not here to advocate for your defense, madam. I won't tolerate inconsistencies in your story. You would do well to remember that.
Oh, dearie me.
What's Lord Van Zeke's getting at? I need to play 2 Resident Evil games and first Shenmue before second grade Ace Attorney. Well, I've never touched Shenmue myself, but I always hear great things about it. But considering how I'm a giant Resident Evil fan, which 2 have people requested to watch you play? Definitely curious about that one. Because there are some classics out there, but I don't know if they're hoping you go a more classic route, or maybe you want they want something more modern, or something like 7 or 8. Which, 8 I really liked. 8 was a good one. I mean, not quite as scary as I was hoping it would be. Still good, though.
Hold it!
It seems that this note was actually delivered to Mr. Shamsphere about 1 week ago.
Oh, does it?
But for some reason, it ended up in your possession. I can't think of any way that could have happened except for you breaking into Mr. Shamsphere's lodgings.
Objection!
But for what reason would the witness have done that? I won't deny that Miss Green's possession of the note would appear to defy logic. However, until and unless her involvement in this case can be proven in some other way, any further pursuit of this note is meaningless.
Miss Green could only have come to be in possession of the note by stealing it from Mr. Shamsphere's room. And yet, there's no obvious reason why she would have done such a thing.
I'm trying to think of why the note... She would have had the note, and suddenly he had the note. What if there was some other reason she broke into his lodgings, though?
Yes, we should pursue that idea, Mr. Naruhodo.
We're close now, I can feel it. We're so close to a breakthrough. Okay, let me catch up real quick. For Ari, I play each in order. I already finished around 15, and around 10 to go, mixing them with other games. Next is Darkside Chronicles. Okay, cool. Darkside Chronicles is a fun one, because when I was a kid, when Umbrella Chronicles and Darkside Chronicles came out, it was one of the few games that me and my brother could play together in Resident Evil with the light shooter railguns things, and we loved Resident Evil 2 so much, so Darkside Chronicles was a huge hit for us. It's a really fun game. I'm sure you're going to have a great time with it if you enjoy the Resident Evil series. But grats on you for finishing 15 of them. I know I personally don't like to do the offshoots and spin-offs like Dead Aim or Operation Raccoon City or anything like that, because like I try them personally, but they don't really hook me, and so I don't usually stream them. But you know, to each their own. More power to you. But you mix them with other games, so it's like Resident Evil something, Resident Evil something. I get that. Although for me, the next Resident Evil I play, I'm doing a marathon at the beginning of September where I play 37 hours of Resident Evil games without sleeping and see if I can make it. Just for funsies, you know? Just because I'm a little sick in the head. Actually, his name is Naruhodo. There's 2 O's at the end of that is missing. And oh, really? Naruhodo. Maybe it's because of the do part. Like, I heard they had to censor out, apparently, a lot of racism in this. Because Van Zeeks is supposed to be super racist, I guess. Which is a little disappointing in the translation, but it is what it is. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they started changing names as well. And the W in Ryu Yonosuke. Wow. They really simplified it for Americans, didn't they? Little disappointing, but... D-O-O? Oh, okay. I'm not good at Japanese, I'll admit that, but I do appreciate a good game, so... But still, they definitely changed a lot of stuff about this thing. So you don't want to tell the court the truth about the letter? Is that it?
I'm a fledgling artist, remember? Artists are nearly always introverted characters.
Introverted? Fie! This fledgling doth readily cast aspersions about my nature. Yet I am an angel, a seraph. Birds do harmonize with my song, the wind doth frolic on my wing. Oh, pity! Wherefore dost thou accuse one so pure of heart, ample woman?
Pure of heart? I don't think so. Even a fledgling like me can see you're just a failure.
Tragedy! Thou shalt not know the true heart of an artist until thine instruction hereafter by death. Oh, the days! Oh, the years! Alas, to enlighten thee, thou must wait so long and in vain.
Mr. Naruhodo, interject with some clever remark. This is your chance to shine.
Really? I'm no Shakespearean actor, Mr. Sato. No, as far as I can tell, the only thing that's going to resolve this argument is evidence. Yes. And Sherlock Holmes is really Holmes in Japanese dub. That one I knew. Because in Japan, in Japan the copyright, I guess, doesn't exist or is more lenient or something, so they're allowed to use Sherlock Holmes characters over there. They just can't use them over here, I guess.
It's clear that Miss Green did in fact break into Mr. Shamspeare's room, isn't it? And that's where she found this letter.
Yes, 2 more or less foregone conclusions that lead me to one terrifying conclusion.
Terrifying?
Yes, I'm afraid to say the outcome of this cross-examination may well change how we look at this case completely. But I went through the whole thing and oh, man. Alright, I need to think. I believe they forced to move it due to yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. It's a little disappointing, but it's okay. I probably should just turn the Japanese on to have the original names there, but then I wouldn't be able to read it. Okay. Let's see. I do remember now. Well, 'twas a week ago, per adventure, the note was delivered unto me. Cool. Everyone's saying that's true and accurate. Wow. My headset is breaking, I think. Sorry. I hear like a rumbling in my right ear. But let's see. Do you remember now? A week ago, delivered unto me. We've accepted that. Yes. On the day writ therein, I did tarry a long hour at the Slug and Salad, yet nobody came. If you got the note, it makes sense that you would go there and do that. Thereafter, on the evening I shared the company of the Japanese fellow, I did see the note had vanished. So by the time he got back, the note was gone, which means if Olive did go in there to steal the note between that day where she got stabbed and then the day when Natsume went over to him and they had the Romeo and Juliet debate, she had to have snuck in, right? I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I? Oh, that's an easy question. Sorry. That one went over my head because I was talking to a new friend, so... Bottle found on the position of screen with traces of slug. Yeah, you went into to poison. That's the word I'm thinking of. Fuck. I don't know why poison escaped me so easily, but it did. There we go. Okay. Yesterday at the hospital, we saw you with this bottle. Though the contents spilt during the course of our meeting, a small quantity remained. Ah! According to the defense's independent analysis, Mr. Sholmes' chemistry set, the liquid that was still in the bottle was identified as strychnine. What? Strychnine? The very same poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspeare. Ah! Miss Green, you broke into this man's lodgings for one reason, and one reason alone. To cover the end of the pipe that feeds the gas lamp in Mr. Shamspeare's room with poison. He's staring right at her. I like that. Can this be? You broke into my room to... It may seem incredible to the court. From the remaining clues, there is only one logical conclusion that we can reach. The person who attempted to take Mr. Shamspeare's life with poison was you, Miss Olive Green.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dearie.
Me! She's done. There she goes. And she's gone. But I feel so bad for her. I wouldn't have minded if she got away with it, to be honest. It's time for me to go to sleep. See ya. Alright, Norm, thank you so much for dropping in. I really appreciate it, buddy. I hope the rest of your playthrough of Great Ace Attorney goes well and smooth, and that you enjoy your Resident Evil next, or your Shenmue, or whichever one you choose to do next. But yes, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Have a good night, sir. Or ma'am. Or person. I really gotta practice watching what I say. Order! 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 Counsel, are you seriously suggesting this woman put poison on the end of the gas pipe with intent to kill? Yes, my lord. There's no other way to explain the facts. What if Miss Green did indeed set this odious trap 6 days ago, and the victim had put his mouth to the pipe that very evening as expected? The attempted murder would have happened 6 days ago, surely? Oh, well, that's a very good point. Perhaps not, my lord. I beg your pardon? There was significant police presence in that area that evening on account of the incident on Briar Road. Local residents were being interviewed throughout the night as part of the ongoing inquiry. A circumspect criminal would likely have chosen not to carry out any wrongdoing at the time. Lord Van Zieks? And of course, the following morning there was more activity at Mr. Shamspeare's address. More activity? Oh, yeah. You mean his fellow lodger, Mr. Natsume, being arrested on suspicion of murder? That's right. And as the defense lawyer has already proposed, Mr. Shamspeare was meddling with the gas in the pipe for a very sinister reason himself. To cause the gas stove in Mr. Natsume's room to go out, thereby asphyxiating the occupant. But once Mr. Natsume had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by the police. In the circumstances, Mr. Shamspeare had no reason to blow air into the gas pipe. His intended victim being in a prison cell. With the need to tamper with the gas removed, the poison on the pipe lay dormant.
And then, 3 days ago now, the situation changed again.
Right. Mr. Natsume's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end.
The trial in which the man stood accused of stabbing Miss Green in the back, but was duly acquitted.
That resulted in Mr. Natsume returning to his lodgings for the first time in 2 days. And that very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out, and Mr. Shamspeare was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion, the poison that was present on the mouth of the gas pipe had been put there in the victim's room some 4 days earlier.
Mary!
With that new understanding, it becomes clear that this letter was all part of the plan.
What plan?
The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the Slug and Salad at 5 o'clock, and that the recipient should tell nobody else. The reason for those instructions are now clear. To ensure that the lodger would not be at home at the stated time.
To make sure I wasn't home?
Exactly. While you were out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that she wouldn't be disturbed.
You mean to say that letter?
Was written by Miss Green, yes. And in order to cover her tracks, she took it away with her when she left. Just after she smeared poison over the mouth of the gas pipe in your room. We still gotta establish motive. We're gonna do that, though. We got the stuff to do that.
Order, order! What do you have to say for yourself, witness?
Just who are you? Why did you try to kill me?
Miss Green's motive should be obvious. It's all tied up with someone whose name we've heard several times already during the course of this trial. So, that's what's behind all this.
You will share your apparent understanding with the court, please, counsel. Which person is behind this woman's motive for the attack on the victim's life?
Easy. The dead one.
Take that!
Duncan Ross.
That's right. Before the defendant, Mr. Natsume, took up residence in the lodgings at Mr. Garrideb's, somebody else was renting the room. Mr. Duncan Ross. I knew I'd heard the name somewhere else. It was all over the papers a month ago, when the man died in strange circumstances at the haunted lodgings.
That does ring a vague... Oh, of course, yes, I remember now. The young man they claimed was strangled by the convict's curse or some such.
Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind. Nor was it an accident. The man died as a result of Mr. Shamspeare blowing into the gas pipe and causing gas to leak into the room. It was murder, plain and simple.
Ah! Well, what do you know? The world is so unfair. Curses, curious deaths, that's all people care about. If it's an interesting story, they want to know. It doesn't cross their minds that real people are involved. And once they're bored, just 1 month later, once the story lost its appeal, everyone's forgotten him. You mean you? Duncan was...
Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé. Fiancé? You may not have known until now who Miss Green really is, Mr. Shamspeare. But she's known exactly who you are all along. Because you're her sworn enemy. The murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry.
Mary!
Miss Green, is it not the case that in order to exact revenge on Mr. Shamspeare, you smeared poison over the end of the gas pipe? Aw, she looks so sad, though. This is all quite extraordinary. Am I correct in my understanding that you now accuse both parties, counsel? Each on different counts of murder? Yes, my lord, that's correct.
Objection!
Inhaling so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend has taken in a lungful of dubious gas that's causing his judgment to be clouded. What? Why would Mr. Shamspeare have wanted to kill these lodgers, as you say? You have completely failed to provide a motive to substantiate your accusation against the man. Yes, that's right, Mr. Reaper, my liege. I have been slighted. 'Tis lies, all lies. I deny every utterance.
And you'll have to forgive me, Mr. Naruhodo, sir. But I don't intend to admit to anything either.
Miss Green.
I'm sure you'll think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel.
Objection!
I'm with her. Let her go. She deserves to murder the dude. But you broke into the man's room. If you didn't do it to smear poison on the pipe, what was your reason?
I thought I'd have a look around, that's all.
Sorry?
You're right, I suspected him. So I thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life.
Oh, vilest, oh villainy, oh tyranny, oh rotundity of woman! But in any case, whene'er I leave my room, I do turn the key in the lock.
That old place is falling apart. The locks on the doors are no different. Duncan showed me once how to unlock the door with some terps and a piece of wire.
Oh, awfulness, oh artfulness, oh tyranny, oh profanity of woman! We will consider your trespassing on some future occasion, but for now, tell the court what you found, what evidence your search revealed.
Well, I spotted the note that I'd sent him lying on the floor. When I went to pick it up, I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose, and underneath it, I discovered a secret hiding place.
Eh? Yes, we also discovered that hiding place.
Inside, we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box. Ah, yes, well, the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty.
What? There was something in it?
Yes. This rather nice key.
Wah! What are you doing with that? What the?
Every ounce of color is drained from his face.
Give it here! Give it to me now! It's mine! I inherited it! What was that, witness? What did you say? You inherited it. No, What's all this about? He inherited that key?
It was obviously important to you since you'd gone to such lengths to hide it, so I took it. I don't know what it's for, but you took something precious from me, so I took something precious from you. So what if it means you can't open something now? I don't care.
Give it back this minute! Give it to me! Calm yourself, witness. So Mr. Shamspeare has tried, and in one case succeeded, to take the life of 2 lodgers now. Yes, his motive for doing so is the key to everything that's happened. It's true that there appears to be no motive to support the accusation against Mr. Shamspeare, at first. But considering everything we now know, I think there's actually something that could explain it. What? I need to recall every piece of evidence at our disposal. Everything we've seen and heard. Because I'm sure that I just caught a glimpse of the link that runs through all of these events. In that case, counsel, I must demand that you present evidence to the court in support of your claim. What is it that you say can explain the motivation for Mr. Shamspeare's alleged crimes? Alright, we're gonna save it. Because I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. But I'm fairly sure, but I'm not so sure. Not so sure to do it without saving, but so sure that I should be able to save first and then just get right to it. Because I'm pretty sure it's this. Alright, let's do it.
Take that!
That's an official police report, is it not? The Selden file? How did you get hold of that? Selden? The now sadly deceased Mr. Ross and the defendant, Mr. Natsume, have only one thing linking them. The fact that they had lodgings in the same room. Well, yes, we know this certainly. A room that was formerly occupied by Selden. Until, that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries. I see. And it so happens that the convict Selden left behind one very substantial mystery when he died. The some £1,000 worth of loot that he stole, which as yet remains to be found. Ah, yes, of course, it's coming back to me now. It's written in his file here. £1,000 lost en route to hell. That was how the papers summed it up. And it seems that one particular fellow inmate was with the convict in his final moments. It's not hard to imagine Selden entrusting that inmate with his most closely guarded secret, the location of the stolen loot, and perhaps a key to unlock whatever container the valuables were in.
Oh. Ah, you mean this key is...
Mr. Shamspeare, it was you, wasn't it? You were at the capital offender's side when he died, were you not? What are you talking about? 'Tis a false charge, I tell you! A false charge! The name of the inmate who was with Selden at his death isn't noted in this file. But a simple telegram to the prison where he died would quickly tell us how false the charge really is. But even if it's true, why would the man be so intent on killing every subsequent occupant of the convict's lodgings? There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in that very room that Selden hid his loot. So, it all comes out. Yes, and having established that, all of Mr. Shamspeare's subsequent actions start to make perfect sense. When he was let out of prison following Selden's death, he made immediately for Mr. Garrideb's lodgings in the hope of renting Selden's old room. However, the retired army man was unable to offer him the accommodation of his choice. Because Selden's old room had already been let to someone else, Mr. Duncan Ross. Which is why Mr. Shamspeare subsequently devised his gas-based plot to kill the occupant of the room. And when he was successful, he presumably intended to inquire about switching into the newly vacant room. However, a certain jittery someone had beaten him to it. Mr. Soseki Natsume? The defendant of this case, no less. So you decided to use the ploy with the gas again, didn't you, Mr. Shamspeare? This time, to oust Mr. Natsume. All for one simple and avaricious reason. To get your hands on the £1,000 of loot left behind by the dead convict. Ugh, you... Ah! Ah! It was like a really quick save button thing, quick save thing there. That's funny. Looks like... oh, this is the Selden, I'm sure. Listen, I want you to have me loot. Anything to stop the coppers getting their mitts on it. It's hidden in the room where I was lodging when they got me. Here, this is the key to it. Take it. Always stay one step ahead, mate. See you in hell, I guess. Shamspeare. Is he still sweating? It's mine. What did you just say? It's mine. That loot is mine. Mr. Shamspear?
It's all lies. I don't accept any of it. Why should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence. You can't prove I killed that fellow. Forsooth, I'm the victim here, remember? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? If I don't admit to it, there's nothing you can do. You can't arrest me. For the time being, anyway. Verily, you can't arrest the victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close. I just need a few more hours. I swore to myself that I'd get my hands on it, and I can almost taste it now. Do you really think I'd just give up?
There's no question in my mind now. This man is guilty through and through.
But he seems so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot. I'm afraid that however hard you press him, he'll never admit to what he's done, Mr. Naruhodo.
There is a way.
Pardon?
There's one way I can finish him.
No.
He's already committed the most heinous crimes. Wow, fuck me for that one. The most heinous crimes to get his hands on that loot. Which means all we need to do is find it first. A fine plan. Were it not for the fact that the police thoroughly searched the room following the death of Mr. Ross. If it's there at all, it must be very well hidden indeed. Without conclusive evidence, I certainly cannot rule.
If only there was some way we could find the convict's loot quickly.
This is the final piece in this complex puzzle. It's funny because I knew it was going to come down to this. Like, it was going to come down to we got to find it. But I think we might have it in our possession already. Or rather, I think we may well have something that can help us find where that loot is hidden. Do we? My lord.
Yes, counsel.
The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find the late convict's hidden loot. I believe we are already in possession of something that could give us a clue as to its whereabouts. It's our last chance, so it has to be worth a gamble. Besides, we've used the same technique once already, and it definitely paid off then.
Very well then, counsel. Let the court hear your idea. What do you propose we can use in order to locate the hiding place of the deceased convict's hull?
Oh, I think I get it. I think I get it. I think I get it. I think I got it. I think I got it. Well, maybe not. Because I never used this. I never used this in the entirety of this, but I don't know if that's even important. What I was thinking, just in case anyone is curious and following along, is this. Find an abnormal place that Selden could have touched to hide the loot, the same way we found Shamspear's hiding place in his room. I already saved it, I'm not worried, but I am fairly confident that this is it. Nah, let's do it.
Take that!
If I'm not mistaken, those are Mr. Shamspear's handprints on the wall of his lodgings.
That's right, my lord. Exposed as a result of the defense's independent investigation of the scene.
Based on a wonderful new discovery in the field of forensic science by the great detective Mr. Sholmes. A great detective? Is that some kind of joke? Do you really think I'm going to be daunted by a man with such a ridiculous title?
Well, I should think the great bard ought to recognize such a title when he hears one, Mr. Shamspear. Perhaps we should compete for the honor of most ridiculous title.
Ah! 'Tis Herlock Sholmes himself!
What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts are the filthy backstreets of the capital, are they not? Ah, Mr. Reaper, it's been too long, and I see your complexion has worsened since last we met. Mr. Sholmes. He does know Lord Van Zieks, then. Well enough to say something like that, in any case. Mr. Sholmes, though you may be heralded as a great detective by the population at large, that does not give you the right to come and go in my courtroom as you see fit.
If I may, my lord, Mr. Sholmes' newly developed scientific method has helped us to uncover vital clues in this case already.
Clues, you say?
I call them skin prints, my lord. My method identifies every location touched by an individual under scrutiny. 'Tis the method by which we were able to ascertain this gentleman's gas pipe activities. Ah! You need only a small sample of something the individual has previously touched to make it indicate a solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you had been holding, Elementary. So now, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? What am I to use as a sample to make the indicator solution this time? Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes. When the convict was arrested, he was living in what is now Soseki San's room. We need a sample to help locate Selden's loot that's hidden in his old room. What form will the sample take?
I don't know this one. Not off the top of my head. Definitely not a person. None of these people seem... This is a tough one. Something Selden touched. This is a tough one. This is a tough one. Hold on. I'm saving it. I'm saving it again because I'm a scaredy cat. Fuck. Okay. Selden probably didn't touch that. Selden, I highly doubt Selden touched those books, or this map, or this soap, or this envelope, or these cups. I don't know if you touch anything in that picture. Wait. He had been suffering with fever since the end of October. Is that important? Does that mean he would not have been using his gas box? That's a tough one. I want to do just the key, because that's the only thing he touched. But what's-her-face has the key. Fuck it, just present a person. We will need something of Selden's in order to create the indicator solution to find his loot, and something the convict owned happens to be in the possession of somebody listed in the court record. Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, your powers of reasoning appear to be on the up. So, which particular person do you have in mind? From whom can we obtain a possession of the late convict Selden to create the indicator solution? She's got his key. That's the only thing he's touched. Well, fuck it.
Take that!
And the music stopped. I guess that was it. Ugh, I was thinking too much on evidence, I guess. Miss Green.
Ah, me? What do you want with me?
The key around your neck, if you please.
Sorry?
That key belonged to Selden. There will be remnants of secretions from the man's skin on its surface that we can use. Very true. That is the sample we need. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Sholmes' skin print seeker. and find out exactly what Selden touched in the room that he used to rent.
Ah.
Mr. Shamspeare, as one great to another, I assure you. If the late convict's hall is hidden somewhere in his former lodgings, I shall uncover it in no more than 30 minutes.
Ah.
So, Mr. Shamspeare, the truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hands on Selden's stolen wealth.
Ah.
In that case, I'll gladly let Mr. Sholmes have this key.
No, give the key to me! The detective shan't have it! It's over, Mr. Shamspeare.
No. No.
You're out of options now. There's only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt.
Well. Oh, shameful spear! Despair! Be thy name!
That was quite the show to go out on, that's for sure.
I never intended to kill the man. I just wanted to drive him out of the room. That's all.
So you'd have time to find the convict's haul of stolen goods? Yet after you'd killed the young man, you still didn't move into the room.
I asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused.
Why?
I was 3 months behind with the rent, for one thing.
Mr. Garrett really has had a lot to put up with.
And he had the gas repair work done immediately afterwards, putting the room out of action for a while. And then, this Japanese man swooped in at just the right moment to sign the new lease. Poor Mr. Natsume, what an unfortunate timing. Then 5 days ago, after the incident on Briar Road when the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, I thought I'd finally have my chance, but it wasn't to be.
No, the scene was sealed off and guarded by the police night and day.
And, if I remember rightly, Mr. Sholmes spent the whole day in there reading books. I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot.
Which is why on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his room, you once again tried your trick of blowing air into the gas pipe that feeds the stove in his room. Unbeknownst to you, however, that action would lead you into a deadly trap.
William Shamspeare! How does it go? To be or not to be? That is the question.
From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1.
Well, let me tell you, in your case, it's not to be. That is the answer. You deserve to die for what you've done. Huh.
Boy, adorable little short fat lady. You deserve to die for what you've done, Jesus.
At first, I really did think it was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died.
The gas supply in my new lodgings are a complete disaster, you know, Olive. The gas supply? Oh, that's her, probably.
The gas supply?
Yes, the stove always seems to go out in the middle of the night for some reason.
That's no joke.
They say it's the convict's curse.
Oh, Duncan, please, don't stay there. I don't care how cheap it is.
Alright then, if it's that important to you, I'll start looking for a new place.
There are spare rooms at my house. Why don't you leave that horrible room tonight?
No, I'd better not. We said we'd wait until we'd graduated before we told our parents, remember?
But that was the last time we ever spoke. That very night he fell victim to the gas. If only I'd known it was going to happen, I'd have insisted he left that horrible room that instant. But instead, all I've been left with is bitter regret. I stopped going to school, but something kept drawing me back to the house on Briar Road. I saw a stooped, Eastern-looking man with a mustache coming out of the house one day when I was there. He walked up the road to Grub's Grubbery for some food, so I followed him and sat myself down next to him. He had some watery-looking soup and started to pick a quarrel with the publican.
That place is cursed, I tell you, cursed! The ghost of that convict who used to live there is trying to suffocate me. I wake up in the middle of the night, freezing to death because of the stove has gone out. The room is full of gas and I can hardly breathe. But the pipes have been checked. No problem there. It's like I'm the problem. That's what they're thinking.
But how could that be? Duncan was gone, and now this man had almost suffered the same fate? Could it really be a curse? Then I remembered a rumor I'd heard about how the gas companies go around investigating the gas installations.
A rumor? Ah, you mean...
Yes, everybody's heard the stories, it seems, about how they go around checking the pipes.
How anything connected to the gas can be extinguished by blowing air into the pipework.
That's when it started. A little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind that just wouldn't go away. Was it really an accident, though? Once I'd had the idea, it wouldn't leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. So I bought this at one of the black markets in the East End.
A black market?
I'd never been. I just heard people talk about them, and you really can buy anything you can think of there. In some ways, being able to get my hands on this so easily made me even more determined. I had to find out one way or another. Was Duncan's death an accident? Or was it murder?
And your chosen method for establishing the truth was simple, but highly effective. Smear poison on the gas pipe you suspected the man of tampering with, and wait. If Mr. Shamspeare was innocent, nothing would come of what you'd done. But if he was guilty, he would pay for his crimes dearly.
I found out the name of the man I suspected, William Shamspeare. And then I wrote him this little note. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. If he'd done it, I knew that would worry him enough to so he'd be sure to go.
There we go. I got there in the end. Don't worry, guys.
So I waited to see if it worked.
And of course, Mr. Shamspeare followed the instructions to the letter.
I worked out where the gas pipe was straight away. So I smeared a good amount of the poison I'd bought all around the mouth of the pipe. All the time praying that the devil's work wouldn't be done, and that it was all just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. All the time praying that the devil's work would be done, and that the culprit would get his just deserts.
"3 days ago, I did not hit that button. When you were first stood in the dock before me, this whole affair seemed relatively straightforward. Yes, my lord! I certainly never imagined the depths of depravity that we should subsequently find lurking behind the scenes. It has been a long road, my Nipponese friend. Oh, yes. And one I certainly didn't envisage walking with you. Nevertheless, together we have reached the light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. Miss Green,
Yes, my lord?
You will henceforth be stripped of your freedom as punishment for the attempted murder of Mr. William Shamspeare.
Yes, I know.
And you, Mr. Shamspeare, you will be tried for the murder of Mr. Duncan Ross in cold blood, and the subsequent attempted murder of Mr. Soseki Natsume here present.
Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes?
Yesterday, at the hospital, when you and your friends stopped me from...
From ending your life by drinking what was left in the poison bottle?
I wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what was going through my mind. To be or not to be, I suppose. That's a question that's so hard to answer, it seems.
Well, personally, I'm glad of your being here, Miss Green.
Oh!
And I'd like to believe that it's a blessing Mr. Shamspeare didn't die when he ingested the poison. For your sake, at the very least.
Because of you, I chose life, not death. And now you've made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough. Oh, Miss Green.
Mr. Soseki... Sometimes I imagine when I fuck up the lines in this game, it's like outtakes in a fucking movie, you know? You just kind of be like, alright, hold on, let's keep going, guys. Mr. Soseki... we gotta keep going, guys, come on. Mr. Soseki Natsume. Yes, my lord. The court declares that you are exonerated from all blame in this matter. Accordingly, I would call upon the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to present a verdict of not guilty. We are in full agreement, my lord. In that case, I hereby declare to the defendant not guilty. Yay! Fireworks indoors! Yay! Ow. Court is adjourned. Smack. Smack, smack, and you smack you back. Sorry. I don't know where that came from. 23rd February, 3:24 p.m. The Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. Oh, yes, yes, at last. Divine justice duly done! Divine justice? My dear fellow, if there were any divine justice in this world, you would shave that mustache. No, this has nothing to do with my mustache! Some say that a luxuriant mustache is a sign of physical prowess, Mr. Cholmes. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, once again, you saved me from doom! I'm very happy to have been able to help, Mr. Natsume. Congratulations on your acquittal. You're second in almost as many days. I was first acquainted with it, and gained affection for English literature whilst in our great homeland empire. And then by a twist of fate, I was brought to the land that bore the fruits of that literature. Only, the city of bricks and mortar became my prison. Try as I might, I never found my feet here. In the end, I confined myself to my room and lived life through friendly old books.
You've had such a difficult time, haven't you?
Ah, but a week ago now, I dragged you out of that dark and dingy room of yours, did I not? You did, and I've seen more of life in this week than in all my years to date. And for the first time, I feel I've begun to see the true face of the English that's so far been hiding from me behind the wall of fog. My dear fellow, there is nothing special about the true face of the English, as you put it. Wheresoever one goes in the world, humans are human. There are few genuine differences. Yes, I think you're right. I finally started to see that, and I've come to understand something. I've worked out why I was attracted to English literature in the first place. It made me see that whatever our nationality, we humans all have the same hopes and fears. We're all just doing our best to live. Well said. I've come to feel the same way. I've made a decision too. I'm going to cut short my study tour here and return to Japan. What? Just when we'd become friends here in England. What a terrible shame. Oh, I know, that does tug at my heartstrings, it really does. But I've decided I'd like to take everything I've learnt here in Britain and write something of my own. Novel of sorts, I suppose. Oh my, so you'll be creating your own literature, Mr. Natsume? How wonderful. Oh, well, no, I mean, I wouldn't presume to call it literature. Why not, when that is precisely the definition, Mr. Mustache? I suppose you're right, yes. It will, in a way, be literature. But as of now, all I know is that I'd like to try my hand at writing. I have no delusions of grandeur. I, for one, would love to read your work. Well, all things considered, it may be for the best. After all, you have once again emerged victorious from a battle with the Reaper. Ah, that's very true. And there is no salvation for a person in the dock when the Reaper is the prosecutor. The desire to return post-haste to the perceived safety of your homeland is one I quite understand. My goodness, yes! Faced with such a terrifying prospect. Nobody would consider that cowardly, I'm quite sure. But that's not why I'm leaving. I mean it. And that was the case that we found ourselves embroiled in 6 months ago now. So Seki-san did indeed return to Japan and submitted a report about both cases to the government. It was on reading that report that Professor Mikotoba was prompted to visit the scholar. And barely any time later, Susato-san was given the news that she must return to Japan as well. On the back of a telegram stating falsely that her father had fallen gravely ill. The only possible explanation that comes to mind is what happened after the trial on the following day. The day that we uncovered the loot hidden by the now deceased convict in his former lodgings. Ooh, we gonna go see it? Let's go. Let's go see it. Oh yeah, this was the lodgings. I forgot what it looked like for a second. I thought I was going to look at a picture and then like just guess. 24th February, 10:13 a.m. Mr. Natsume's room. Oh, well done, Mr. Sholmes. How simply marvelous of you. To uncover the secret hiding place in just one day. Wasn't it supposed to take 30 minutes? As I believe I told you, my dear fellows, skin prints are extremely useful in such situations. Wouldn't you agree, Gregson?
Gregsy's been happily munching in agreement this whole time, you know, Hurley.
Happily? I think perhaps humorlessly might be closer to the truth. So, it transpires the man fashioned a hiding place in the ceiling. And what's in it? What exactly is the loot? Let us look then, if you're ready. Let's examine the late burglar's haul. What is that? That looks like a collar with blood on it. Is that part of the Hound of the Baskervilles? Am I finally gonna get answers? Oh, hey, Mythical, appreciate it. It looks to be some sort of neckband or collar. A collar? It's huge, though.
And look at all the gemstones in it. I can see why it was claimed to be worth £1,000. Perhaps I could have it as a belt.
Oh, have you noticed on the inside there? There are some dark stains. You don't think they could be blood, do you? I mean, there's quite a lot of it.
On second thoughts, perhaps I won't have it as a belt.
Then of course there's this emblem here. A large letter B and a small crown. This is the Baskervilles, got it. Got it, got it, got it. What does it signify, do you think?
Oh! I hadn't noticed that! I feel as though I've seen that emblem somewhere before, you know? Where could it have been?
That's enough of that, I think. What? What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes? All the color is drained from his face. Well, Inspector, I believe you ought to be taking this, oughtn't you? It could be valuable evidence, after all. It must be kept safely under lock and key.
Ah, yes. Get your grubby hands off that, you lot, and hand it over, now.
They know something we don't know. I'd never seen a collar that large before, and all those jewels certainly look to be extremely valuable. But that's not what stood out the most to me, at least not once I'd noticed it. Those dark marks on the inside of the collar. Those stains. Could they really have been blood?
Well, that was a funny case, wasn't it? But it's all buttoned up now.
And you look very pleased, Iris.
I am, because I was starting to wonder what I could use as the basis of this month's story in the magazine. But this case will be perfect. It's been so fascinating.
Talking about the latest installment of The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, I presume?
The mystery of the knife in the mist, and the mustache man in the convict's curse, perhaps. I could make it a two-part story. Oh, I can't wait.
A word, please, Iris.
Yes, what is it, Hurley?
I'm sorry, but you can't write about this case. It's out of the question.
What? Why not? It's a great case.
Then I shall have to insist that you limit yourself to the first of your two titles. The second must never be written. Is that clear?
Yes. Dick.
I added that last part in, to be
And so
honest.
it was that the second of Souseki-san's cases became buried in obscurity. Now, looking back, I feel I understand. I can see why Mr. Sholmes forbade Iris from publishing the story. It would take a little longer before I saw the link between everything that had happened and would happen. For it wasn't until 2 months after the arrival of Susato-san's letter that events began to unfurl again, with an incident that took place at the very heart of the eagerly awaited Great Exhibition of London.
The end. Oh, that was good. That was a good case. I liked it. A few twists and turns, kind of unexpected, but all in all, you know, pretty cool. Pretty good. So far, so good. Enjoying myself. That's all that matters. But yeah, so considering it is 3 minutes until I have to go to bed, I'm going to go ahead and call it here. So, let me see who is available to raid. I know I only have a few of you here, so it's not going to be huge. So I'll probably just raid Drew, but he's playing Final Fantasy III, which is always a fun game. But yeah, so let me put him in. /raid Drewmink. Alright, so while that preps up, I just want to do a couple shout outs. Obviously, big shout out to Norman Fox Lee for the raid earlier and for the follow. Really appreciate it. Means the world to me. And then a shout out to everyone that chatted. So Norman, Mochi, Haxus, Fern, that guy, RM Dizzle, and I think, Dragon 2, obviously. Dragon, Bougie, Miso. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you hanging out with me so much, and I hope you can do it again. I'm going to try to do this again either tomorrow or Wednesday if I can. I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to do more Ace Attorney. I'm thinking of doing something that I haven't done in a while, or something that might be a little more interesting for you guys, because I feel like the visual novel is a little slow, but I'm going to keep doing the visual novel, because I like the visual novel, and this is my stream. So, anyway, thank you so much to everyone. You guys are the best. Take care of yourselves, stay healthy, stay hydrated, and I look forward to the next time I get to talk to you all. So, see you later, guys.